Right. Now that I realized I was
Great
muted
start.
on vMix, and that's where we're pulling the audio from, my fault. We do have a lower bracket matchup for you that TDS, until last week, I thought this was very, very one-sided. But the way that VKS Stars came crashing into the lower bracket, not with a bang, not with a thud, but with a whimper, with a plop, like a damp squid just being dropped into the lower bracket with a splat. I did not have that on my bingo card, brother.
Yeah, that really sad. That really feels like when a small animal falls to the floor. You don't hear it make a sound, but you know that fell into the floor. It's the sort of same thing that is happening to Vivo here, and I still think they are better, just outright better than the other team. The problem is that being better in concept doesn't equate to being better in the actual game, and
No.
that's the problem that Vivo has.
Yeah, especially not down here. And I mean, and what was unbelievable, I mean, Kissy was the main culprit of it, and I mean, for good reason. The guy had 0 kills across 3 games, right? And it's not like Cade got stomped in every game, but they did get stomped in a couple, and Kissy was simply nowhere to be seen. Now, Tuts did win first team All-Pro in the mid lane, so clearly, right, he is someone who is very highly thought of, and he has shown it this season. But to get, I mean, not to flame too hard, but to pull a Tinones like that, again, that can't happen, right? We talk about the importance of mid jungle, right? And Desamis, right? How he's the only one, it seems like, just putting out fires constantly for Cade Stars. But Kiss is the other end of that equation.
Yeah, we were talking about how at one point we talked about how the Samus essentially was not only the main like connector between each part of the map, but essentially he couldn't like really pull off even more than what he wanted to do, because occasionally it was feeling like he had to be here to stop what was happening in top side, and here to stop what was happening in bot side, and here to stop whatever the hell was happening mid lane, because it was really big. So it's kind of like you need to be in 3 places at the same time, and you can only be one. And I think that the Samus sadly cannot be just doing much more than he was trying to do, and that this connection between mid jungle can be really effective, because if you end up not having the same impact because of your mid lane, can be a little bit difficult as well.
Yeah, well, and let's get a look at kind of the roster, just to kind of put a bow on that real quick for VKS Stars. It is the roster that you know and love, right? It is Bolt up top, Desamis, Kissy, Morteus, and Trimby in the bottom lane. But I want to focus a little bit on Morteus and Trimby. They've had a bit of an up and down split. Trimby has been a little up and down, but Morteus has come on stronger recently, and he is someone that is, he's accused of being a KDA player by some corners of the internet, right? Kind of like Reckless back in the day, right? He doesn't necessarily have that killer instinct, but he will give you a solid 80 carry performance. What I worry about is that into a bottom lane like Brunsey and Frosty. Brunsey specifically, right? He's someone that's not shy about going forward. He's someone that will put himself in dangerous situations. And I want to get your thoughts as to how you think that's going to go, right? Is Morteus playing safe enough to take down a flawed but on their day strong bottom lane for Redkins?
That thinking about how essentially they are going to depend on how they show up in the day, it's important to see how Morteus and Trimby will respond, right? And I feel like, particularly for how this matchup should go, I feel like the best thing that Morteus can do is just play it safe and try and allow Trimby to move around the map. Because I feel like bot lane, for as much as they have been kind of, how to put it, like cold and hot occasionally, like they are hot and cold a lot of times, they have been really consistent at doing what they need to do. I feel like if Trimby gets a little bit more space, if Trimby does move around much more than just stuck in bot lane, I feel like they find more opportunity, a lot of angles, and I think that has to be how they try and play around with.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with you. If nothing else, because that is kind of the identity that they've developed, right? To go away from it, even though you got absolutely blasted against Furia, I don't think that is the way to go. And now here is something. Well, okay, now I gotta check this out for sure. I trust that our producer Chippy has it right, but having Mago back in for playoffs. I mean, we talked on the last podcast on Gringos Liberados, available on YouTube and Spotify. if what rosters would see changes going into split 3. I didn't expect a change going into the playoffs. Now again,
Yeah, it's
I
a
will
little bit
kind of
earlier.
I will verify this. But why don't we talk about? I mean, let's start with that bottom lane, or you can start with top. Anything but the mid lane. Why don't you expound on that a little bit while I go crap?
So we were already talking about bot lane, so I feel like it's perfect to follow up on it. And I do agree with one of the points you made. I feel like Brand's Frosty, one of their most defining ideas here is going to be being just as forward as possible to try and get the kills down. Or better said, like it's fine if they don't find kills, but it's good that they are on your face as the AD carry and support there. And I think that trying to play lane dominant wouldn't be against a good idea there, especially because I also think that Aegis trying to focus bot side would be a good idea to shut down one of the quote unquote more consistent power points that the side of Vivo does have. That being said, they are explosive in a good and in a bad way. So they can either explode against the enemy team and destroy them, or it can explode in your face and they can get destroyed. Like it's an interesting coin toss to really play around with. So it's something that they need to be able to see around it. And the other point that I would like to highlight, I think Aegis is one of those junglers that even if he's not performing at his best, he still finds ways to make the team find some value. And I think that you can never discount him because he's not going to be like run down. He's going to find smart ways to make himself valuable to the team. It's just that because of how the team operates, it can just not be as effective because a jungler most times it's going to be impacted by how the team performs as well.
Yeah, okay. And when I'm going to add on your Aegis point, but did get confirmation. Excuse me, I had a snack beforehand, and now that I'm talking, it's all coming up. Not in a bad way. It'll stay inside my body, I promise. But Mago is not starting. That would be Red Canids.
Unlucky.
See, but that's the crazy thing about Red Canids. I wouldn't put it past them to just.
I wouldn't be against it either.
We're gonna make this change again.
So you know what? I wouldn't be against it. I understand. Obviously, you shouldn't do it, but I wouldn't be against it just because if you're thinking about split 3 and you don't think that you have a chance here, better to get actually stage time to the player that it will come back. Although we don't even know if Mago will come back, right? So that's the question mark.
Yeah.
That's the real
If
question
Mago
mark
was the one that we're going, we made a switch, then we made another switch, then we made a third switch, but it is going to be Mago, forever and ever, amen. Then sure, get him in, whatever. Like you're going to lose, you're not going to win the title. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, we don't expect you to be winning. Exactly. So better to try things out, but like we were mentioning, it's not sure it's even Mago. So they are going to try and close out things here. I do think though that Red, the pieces that I feel like Red are missing are not that much. I just think that they need to find the right mix to make it work out as effectively. Because I feel like if they just change one or two things, I would even argue just one thing consistently, that would be great. As we already have the pick and ban.
We've already got pick and bans on our screen. It will be first pick for Kissy. It will be that Talia. So again, no excuses not to get 0 kills on this. I mean, maybe if you're getting 5,000 assists and Morteus has a monster game and does his best Uzi impression and Bull is getting kills on carries like we know and love, but he's got an opportunity to be all over the map here, right? Like you can't really not do much on this Talia pick.
And they already are picking champions that hate to be playing against Talia, so makes sense that that this is going to be a much better game for Kissy. With that in mind, the Lucian and the Strony do come through, and I'm expecting Varus to be one of the other champions that will appear here, one of the more strong champions in the bot lane, one of the more consistent ones as well. And I think that one of those champions that if you can adapt to what the game needs out of you, there it is. So it's a perfect pick here for Morteos, and I think the Nautilus also makes sense for Trimby here. Only thing that I worry is that because the Varus does have a lot of mobility issues, it's a little bit more difficult to leave him by himself in the bot lane. You do want to look out for him as much as possible occasionally because of that.
Yeah, well, and that kind of goes, I'm assuming, it's what you said, right? Like, what is kind of the winning strategy? Trimby's such a cerebral player. If you could get him out on the map, right? It's not like you have to go, full Ezreal duty, necessarily, but, just getting him on the map and being a secondary jungler to Desamis, right? Like, I think exactly. I agree with your sentiment more in the sense of just give Desamis some help, if nothing else, right?
Yeah, give him attention to be able to move around. I feel like if you have two cerebral players and you combine them, it should be a big brain. It shouldn't be a small brain because of that. And I think that should be how people will try and play with. With that in mind, it is going to be the Lucian Nami combo. I like the Lucian Milio more when you have more CC, but because it's only Nautilus so far, I still think probably the Nami makes a little bit more sense here with the tidal wave difference. And junglers are going to be the focus now for the side of Red. taking away the Fury makes a lot of sense. I'm expecting to see something actually Xinjiao and Bai already out, so there's not a ton of meta options that are currently available anymore. So there should be one or two champions here that maybe the Samus can try and go for that are not expected.
Yeah, no, we could see a couple different ones. Yeah, this Lucian Nami. I mean, I think look, it's it's tried and true, right? Like you
Yeah.
said, I do like the Million Works. It does give you more options, right? I mean, he can have, as RMC put it, Lucian has different waifus he can count on in the bottom lane. Not that's not how I would put it. That makes me uncomfortable in a couple different ways, but you know, it's okay. Jace
It's
being
fine. I
taken
can get
away.
behind that.
Yeah. All right. Well, RMC, you've got a supporter here in TDS. Going to be taking away the Jace as well for Bull. Again, more carries for this guy, right? I mean, Bull, he's a guy who's been a yo-yo player kind of his whole career, up into the first division, down to the second division. And it seems like he's found a good kind of, a good play style in terms of just being able to be put on carries, things like the Gwen. I'm surprised we didn't see the beat. Well, it got banned. That's why. Good job, 4x4. But taking away the Ari and the Azir as well. What does that tell you about what, I mean, well, yeah,
They want to
just
protect
don't
TC.
Yeah,
They want to
exactly.
protect Kise, taking away some of the more difficult matchups and some of the more standard matchups as well. That Asir and that Ari are the typical champions that you see. The Silas is one of those champions that, even though it's not necessarily like a straight up counter pick answer, it does get better the better ultimates you have. And with Nado's ultimate, you already have a great value. With the Barris ultimate, you have already great value. Depending on the next picks, it can rise or just stay the same in terms of value. So it's going to be fun seeing what else is going to come through. I don't expect Sion to be the great ultimate value that you're looking for as a Sylas, but I do like the Sion here for one reason only. It gives space for Morpheus in case team fights become a really important difference maker, and that way you can at the very least have a chunky front line that can just take away some of the damage from that Barris and not have to worry at all. And as far as jungle remaining, I think Poppy wouldn't even be a bad option here. You have a lot of dashes,
Sure.
and having double stoppage for the CC for the amount of movement that there is in multiple members could be great. Pantheon is fine. It does give you more ARD game priority and also point and click CC.
Oh boy, yeah, I would have loved to. I would have loved to have seen the Poppy there. I think that would have been super based, but oh well, we do get the Pantheon. Pantheon makes me sad. Like you said, you get a lot of early game priority. You get a lot of ability to move around the map. So again, you see this is very kind of telegraphed from them, right? Team fight front to back. You've got point and click CC that you can use on everybody except FNB when he's ulting. And the FNB Olaf, man, look, FNB maybe is not quite the player he once was. He still has some very high highs, but the days of, MVP FNB, I don't know if they're long behind us, but they aren't here currently. But when he was at the peak of his powers, kind of 2021, 2022, the Olaf is where he made a lot of his money, right? When that champion was a little bit stronger, a little bit higher priority. But this, I mean, this is a bit of a statement, I think, from Red Canids.
Yeah.
To me, I mean, you've got a couple more picks that you can go to, but like giving FNB, a guy who has been, a little inconsistent this split, giving him kind of his signature champion here and giving, a pretty easy composition to execute, right? With, like you said, TDS, a lot of high value ultimates to take. If Red don't win this, they're going to find themselves in a world of hurt.
Yeah, I feel like it comes down to how much of the coin will fall in Red side. Because, like you're mentioning, if the Olaf can run over essentially everyone, and you can essentially destroy everyone because there's barely anything that will be able to burst you out. That's one of the things you want to have against Olaf: burst damage. And there's essentially none. Maybe they execute from the Pantheon. You can consider that burst damage, but the rest is going to be a long damage that is going to take time before it can apply. So he should run over everyone else. The problem here is that this is a sort of confidence kind of composition where the pieces may not necessarily be the most cohesive. There's good ways to try and combine them, but it's the confidence that it builds up on the players. And if you don't execute or you don't win on a composition like this, it can impact your confidence for the ensuing series. Because, like, what do you pick if you cannot pick your comfort when it's comfort or supposed to be comfort?
Well, and especially for a team like Red Canids, who are so emotional, right? This is such a vibe-based team. I talked about it on the podcast. I mean, for Cade, right, there's a little bit of an emotional component to this where you just got, like, humiliated. You just got absolutely blasted by a better team in Furia, but a team that coming into that series we didn't think was, like, that much better. Or at least I'll speak for myself. I didn't think they were, leagues ahead of Cade. But they just got mauled. They got absolutely embarrassed. And right now, right, you've got to pick yourself up off the floor, right? This is your spot at MSI on the line here against a team in Red Canids that, make no mistake, you should beat. Like you cannot get dumped out by Furia, right? Who's a team that you're trying to essentially be like. You're trying to be kind of the disruptors in Brazil. Come in with a foreign coach, instill different principles, bet on some young talent, and it hasn't clicked, right? I mean, and results are what people remember, right? They had a great regular
Yeah,
season,
exactly.
but if you get bounced 3-0 to Furia, and then if you lose to this iteration of Red Canids, with the greatest of respect, I love so many of these players on Red Canids, that cannot happen.
No, the thing with this is that because of how we already have constructed narratives, thanks to how the regular season went, like if Red Canids win, it's a huge upset and nobody expects this. If people lose this, it's really bad upset for them in terms of how they will be looked at, but also it's something that may have like direct consequences in some of the players because like Trimby was essentially brought here to be able to secure you on a spot, or at the very least fight for a spot at MSI, but in the grand finals, not in
Yep.
lower bracket semis. So like these sort of things may have an impact on where some of the players end up even next split. So it's important that they are able to turn it around and show up like that. But like results wise, it's questionable in some of the occasions, and I think even play wise, I feel like for what we expect from out of this team, play has been a little bit, well, actually a lot of really questionable.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
there's enough body of work to say that, unfortunately. But we're in the game now. And this Grefthar pick for Silas, right? We kind of talked about it, but I want to talk about it a little bit in the lens of Grefthar specifically playing this Silas. And look, you can still provide your team a lot of value if you steal the right ultimate and hit that ultimate, right? Then all of a sudden, all of Grevthar's, all the complaints that people have against him, right? Of, oh, he's not a good laner, right? He's not selfish enough in lane, right? You have a ton of damage kind of otherwise, right? So if you could just be a disruptor and get that big ultimate, you're going to be okay. And especially because they didn't draft the Poppy, right? I thought, I mean,
Yeah,
you
I
brought
think
that up. I'm
Poppy
like,
was great.
what a Thanos pick, right? Into Silas Lucian, right? Two short range champions that just like, you have a Varus for crying out
Yeah,
loud, right? If you don't let them get near you, the Varus is just going to auto win.
exactly. That would could have been a difference maker, but it's the sort of thing where is it a difference maker because you can play around with it well enough, or is it a difference maker because of how the champion works? And in that sense, I feel like the champion works well enough that they could have played it, and I also think the Samis could have pulled it out. I'm pretty sure the Samis
Oh yeah.
pulling the Poppy wouldn't be surprising at all. The problem is that how confident do you feel about pulling it off right now? And that's also a point where I feel Bebo is at right now, where maybe they're confident at playing certain champions, it's not that high as FNB misses the axe. That is a difference maker. Oof.
Yeah. Yeah. Olaf in lane comes down to a couple of things, and hitting that axe is one of them. Grefthar gets bounced up by the seismic shove here, but Kissy pretty low on mana. This matchup going about how you'd expect, right? I mean, this isn't even an indictment on Grefthar, but now Grefthar pretty low on health, but Kissy has no mana. Showing up here at the same time, though, is the Samus. Nothing doing unless the Samus gets going here. Be able to Arctic Assault over the wall.
Yeah, really good timing there. Also importantly, I think Kise, for how this matchup should go, the fact that he's already ahead in CS and doing fine enough that he's training well enough against Greptar, positive signs for Bebo. We need to consider all the small things because one of the biggest things that can be taken out of last week is because it was such a strong pummeling. Confidence can be impacted in some of these members.
100%.
Like you're mentioning, there's some younger members, but there's also members that are known to win it all. And when you're not winning it all, it can be impactful for your confidence. So it's important the bounce back that you have, but also just the mentality that you have coming into this game. So Kisa needs to step it up in that sense as well.
Yeah, he's in a good spot so far here. Looks like he's going for that Seraph, maybe not rush, but indexing into that tier pretty early on here.
Yeah.
Grefthar, I could see him going just that Rod of Ages early, but there are a couple different ways you could take the Silas now. I was going to say Horizon Focus, but that's just really stupid. No, you would not go Horizon. that was brought to mind because it got changed in the patch notes. Like, oh, maybe he could. No, not even close. Lane swapping up here. And this is something that TDS,
I like this.
Yeah, we've seen a little bit more of, right? I mean, like, if you don't want to play into, I mean, you're lane swapping, but answered immediately by Brunsey and Frosty, right? They go up there, so we're just switching kind of sides of the map. But even though Riot put in this kind of, this very heavy-handed change, teams are still kind of pushing the limits of like, okay, when can we lane swap?
Yeah, and the thing that I've noticed with some of these lane swaps, more so than what it was originally, to make your laning phase a little bit easier on you, as there's a slight setup here for a gank, but distance from Kinza should be good enough. It's
Opa.
Kise.
Hold up. Yeah, Kissy kind of locked up here. Seismic
he's gonna
Shove will buy enough time for DeSamus to get there. 3 stacks of the Permafrost, not going to be enough.
Yeah, and one of the main things for considering this matchup is the range that you're playing with. The fact that Kiss is
Yeah.
able to keep such a good range already from Grafthar means that ganking is going to be extremely difficult until you reach level 6 on Aegis. So at level 6, Aegis will have an easier time getting on top of that Talia. But right now, really nice range you're playing with. And what I wanted to mention before is that because of how lane swaps right now are working, it's not the same where before you wanted to just debate the matchup. I feel like for now, it's much more just a straight up either you go for the grubs and try and get the control over the grubs in case you want to fight for them, or just trade and trade and trade and trade. So you go top lane, you get the minion wave that is already pushing, and you get that, and then once you push it, you trade once again bot side, so that there's never an actual laning contest. Oh,
yeah, hang on a second
Good
here.
hook.
Ignite drop there onto Brunsey. No one's hit level 6 just yet, and quite frankly, no one's really close. Desamis coming up, though. He has yet to kind of get his hands dirty. He doesn't have level 6, so Trimby misses a hook there as Frost able to flash out of it, but you burn the flash, you burn the cleanse, you burn the heal. Advantage Cade.
oh, Frosty is walking back in.
Yeah, made a mistake
no.
there, but will not be punished for it, as on the other side, Aegis and FNB secure that dragon.
Yeah, distance just not enough there. Still, really nice trading there by Trimby, forcing so many times with the hook, also risking his life. He was quite low at the end of it. If he steps a little bit too forward, ends up dying and paying the price. But instead, what happens is just a slight trade of summoners, end up getting ahead because of it. They actually forced Frosty's 2 summoners and Brands' cleanse for just Ignite. I think that's a huge win for Vivo. And this
100%.
also is the sort of trade that can open up Trimby to move around, because if you don't have that amount of summoners to be able to fight around with, Frosty is not going to be that big of a risk, and same can be said to a certain degree for Delusion. And that means that you can open up a little bit more space for Trimby to move around, like he's trying to do here, looking potentially for Greptar. But they do get the dragon in the process. The grubs are to be the next objective that they will try and fight for, but I do think Bebo does have a strong enough fight early on here to try and go for it, especially if Varus has that first lethality item.
If he's got that first lethality item, yeah. And, I mean, if Desamis, right, can... I mean, the level 6 right isn't a combat power spike, so the level 6 isn't going to help him quite as much as Aegis. But, like we talked about, the early damage on the Pantheon, right? Say what you want about this champion. I do not like it. But, early game, it is absolutely deadly. It is so tilting to play against. The amount of utility you have, and again, in the hands of a jungler like Desamis, you really trust it. Now... into the fight we go. Cade showing up, I don't know about quite unopposed, as the ward does get dropped there. They grab the first one. They grab Ed. What about Ed and Eddie? Who is going to be next? Aegis able to smite one away, so that's 1-1 here. They do have that 5% armor and MR from the Mountain Dragon to play with. That might be enough there. Ult grab by Grevthar now as double ults come in. Chains of Corruption on the back end as over the wall goes Grevthar. Very nicely done to get onto Desamis. Jumps on him. The stun comes back out of Grevthar. He should be having him up there, but in the Triburst, it's a 3v3. Really a 3v2 now as Grevthar gets first blood downstairs. Another one coming in for Brunsey. Red Canids jump out to an early lead here. Frosty getting on the business end of a seismic shove here. The volley of arrows goes over the wall. Big old Q, but it's not enough. Red Canids, they lose out on the grubs, but hey, you'll take a 2-0.
Yeah, they find a pretty impressive 2-0 there. They find multiple kills in a really good spot. And the most important part there is that even though they get the grub back, they are forcing such a good spot for the side of Beeb, or for the side of Red. And Bieber particularly, what they were looking for in that situation was trying to just disengage immediately. But the immediate engage onto the Samis, you were mentioning there, yes, you may have a good amount of damage on the Pantheon and the Kid utility is great, but a lot of that Kid utility comes down to when you're able to proc your E, your empowered E, because that takes away a lot of damage. Here, the Samis is forced to flash away. He uses the E, but he's already quite low. He's forced out of position, and then the re-engage, Trimby doesn't connect his E, his hook, then there's not enough damage follow-up from the Barris, and this is one of the weaknesses that this Barris has. It's not a bad champion pick to play with lethality. The problem is that when you're playing lethality, you're lacking a lot of consistent damage, and in that fight, multiple champions end up being quite low, but there's not enough follow-up with your damage because you don't have consistent damage. And it's difficult for Martios in that situation. I don't blame him for taking the path of lethality, but I do think that this game, with champions that are quite tanky, like Graftar, Aegis, and FNB are all playing champions that are deceptively tanky, having a more attack speed focused Varus could have been a difference maker here.
Yeah, well, and just like, I mean, like you said, right, you don't even need necessarily penetration on, against Aegis, but like, FNB and Greftar are going to stack a crap ton of health, right? So having that percent of health goes a long, long way, right? So, I mean, it's in the words of one of my favorite movies, Dodgeball, that did not age well in many respects, let me say. Get my politically correct hat on there. It's a bold strategy for him, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off. Because, like you said, it feels like something that would have paid more dividends in lane. But right now, the story is Red Canid's up 2-0 here, and they've given the kills to Grefthar and Brunsey, and they are on their first items. What a nice little first spike here. As now, this dragon should be theirs, right, TDS? I mean, you got 45 seconds, and you are fighting on such a big spike right now. There's no way that Kissy or Morteus are going to be able to grab their first items and get back. You have to win this fight. Just start stacking those dragons.
Yeah, you should not go for any sort of fight at this point if you're on the side of people, because you're going to almost always lose it. You have not enough damage, you don't have enough setup, you don't even have enough vision control to be able to force it. You need more time for Morpheus to really start spiking up with some of these damages. So it's fine if you want to force it later on, but at this point it's not worth it. Oh, Bull is able to just escape. So ulti for ulti, this is actually good for people. If they ever consider trying to force a fight, this is one of the best things, because now FNB is not going to be untargetable and invulnerable.
Yeah, you did blow that ultimate. Now, Bull blew his, right? Not a big combat ultimate,
but
whoa, Disamis. I don't know if he intentionally sidestepped it, but either way, the ultimate missed. They're flashing over the wall. There goes Bull. They might have a shot in this one. Brunt's able to instant cleanse the chains of corruption. FNB joining the party here as the back massage goes into the back of Bull. They will grab another kill, grab themselves the feats of warfare. They're not going to be able to beat FNB down. Grefthar able to get in there and help out his compatriot. It's not exactly how I thought they'd get that second dragon, but they will get it nonetheless. But Cade actually in an okay spot here to fight back. Let's see if they pull the trigger.
Yeah, multiple ultis down. They do have a space, but they don't have the vision control, and immediately they decide against it. Brands feels really confident here, even though he doesn't have the
look
cleanse.
at him, man.
But it's understandable. 5 against 4. You have full health Lucian here, plus the Nami still available. But all credit goes to Frosty in this fight. That should have been a fight that Vivo could have won 100% of the time in that situation, how they were setting it up. And Frosty pulls off a massive tidal wave, stopping France from dying in a really bad spot with no flash or cleanse. Oh, he's a... Wait.
Oh, man.
Wait.
Yeah, not sure why the camera flipped there, but gonna blow Kissy's flash. Age is happy to trade his, and now 4-0 here early on for Red Canids. I mean, look, Red Canids, they are known to pull some shenanigans in the mid game. This game is far from over, but this is also, again, you talk about a vibes, confidence-based team. How about a 4-0 against a team that is objectively better than you to start the game off?
Yeah, it's a great start, but here, look at how Frosty places that tidal wave. Brands was getting ulted by the Nautilus with no flash at that point and no cleanse, and then flashed by the Scion to try and follow up with the Q. He gets stopped by that tidal wave. There's not enough follow-up anymore. That fight gets completely lost after that point, and then it's easier for them to be able to recollapse thanks to the stealing of the ultimate by the Silas and just following up much more effectively. It really feels like Red is just having a better vibes game so far, and they are playing much better thanks to it. Full props to them, and Bebo needs to turn it around, find some confidence in some play, because at this point, it's feeling really wacky for them. As Brands finds Stream B, Morpheus needs to be careful.
Yeah, Brunsey. I'm glad you pointed that out. The tidal wave there by Frosty. I mean, that really bailed him out. And look, that's why you need your waifu there, right? You need that CC, you need that disengage. If you're playing a champion like the Lucian, obviously there's other kind of, minutia-based synergies that these two champions have. That's why they're picked so often. But if you've got your buddy there as a Lucian, especially in the early game, you can play like you're invincible, right? You can play like you're playing Elden Ring, right? Just, I'm just going to roll dodge here. I'm just going to dodge over there. And now just using this ultimate on cooldown. That is what I like to see if you're playing Sejuani. Rip that gosh darn R button. There's nothing else that they could do.
Yeah, luckily Trimby doesn't die there, able to survive just by the skin of his teeth, but ultimate on cooldown, flash on cooldown now for Trimby, and that's taking away another tool for engaging. Now for the side of Bibo, you have to take those advantages anytime you can, especially on cooldown. The Dragon is in 230, there's nothing to fight over for right now apart from maybe the Herald, but even then it's not that big of an objective compared to this next Dragon, so I like you're mentioning, that Aegis is just looking for those sort of advantages.
Yeah, the cooldown on that ultimate is really not that long. I mean, and it's so powerful, right? It's always something you have to respect from range. Allows you to get within, to gap close right afterwards with pretty much no worries. And now, again, Red Canid's pushing their advantage here, right? The macro hasn't been spotless. Oh, Frosty, yeah, he might pay for this with his life. All right. fair enough here. Cade Stars get their first kill of the game, and Dasama's actually shown up to challenge Aegis, who has decided to call it off completely. So they're going to surrender their first objective. Right as I say that, there goes the dredge line. Aegis able to step in front of it. Very nicely done. The depth charge found Brunsey, but not much else. Now Dasama's on this Rift Herald. Let's see if Red want to contest this. I think this will... Like, they could. They're stronger, but...
So they could have forced it, but I do think they don't have a need to at this point with Frosty already dead. I feel like they can try and force a little bit more, although Kisei's already coming here. There is a Sejuani on the side, no ultimate though, and Wave is getting stopped here. Actually, there's 3 members here. Kisei may be dead.
He just doesn't have the ultimate, but he just kind of walks up to her, stuns her up, 4 stacks of the permafrost. Here comes the TP, too little too late from Bull. Thank you for wasting that summoner spell, my friend. Frosty going to show up now, give Brunsey that speed boost. Grevstar jumps on top of Bull, but now here comes the cavalry. It will be a 3v3, and they recognize that Bull. They're like, wait a minute, he's not just sprinting backwards, he's trying to buy time. Something is up here. That 6th Sense pays off, as they do get a kill to match that one that Cade Stars got. Now 5-1, 2,000 gold lead. Red Canids, right? They got the Feat of Warfare. They've got the first 2 dragons, and now setting up for that 3rd one to keep this dragon stacking going as another tower falls on the top side. FNB doing work on the other side of the map.
Okay, yeah, another good objective they are able to find there is not only killing Kisei, but getting the turrets in their favor, this diminishing the amount of space that Vivo does have in the map, and then getting some more for themselves. This still is not necessarily the worst for Vivo, just because they do have still the mid lane turret open. This does give them a little bit more safety, and they are playing with the poke barriers. So as long as the barriers can poke around a little bit onto some of these champions, it should still be enough damage. The biggest issue now though is that Aegis will essentially not take enough damage that it's going to matter that much, and it's only barriers that you have to worry about. I don't think he's dealing as much damage as someone else. Oh,
the CC chain is absolutely massive from Red Canids, and they sidestep the Chains of Corruption. That's the spell that comes out in response. Now the Seismic Shove is going to grab the 2 tanks, but they say, okay, you want us closer to you? We can manage that. We will be happy to oblige. They do get the 1 kill there onto Trimby, almost that 2nd one onto Desamis, but Red Canids chipping away, and now they've got enough priority to be able to take that 3rd dragon for free, stacking up that silent power that they are grabbing here. Really, it's a, maybe not quite a 4,000 gold lead, but it's pretty dang close with those 3 dragons just in terms of those raw combat stats, and more crucially, obviously, TDS. They force soul points here in 5 minutes.
Yeah, soul points already on. It does mean that they will have to force a fight on the side of Vivo, try and get back, not only back into this game, but be able to fight it out. The main issue here is that you have one tank that is good in the form of Sion. Lethality Barriers is luckily a cheap sort of build that you can try and get around the timing, but the rest of the members are not up there. Like the Pantheon is going to maybe reach his 2nd item power point, which is not bad, but it's not going to be a huge difference maker at this point. Nautilus will still die essentially because he's not going to reach a 2nd item. Aegis though, oh no.
Oof. Able to get out of there, but did cost him his flash. Not the best on Sejuani, but I think right now it's just, and I think this sort of speaks to that. Right now, it's it's like they say, and I've heard them say this in England about soccer, right? Like the last 5 minutes of the first half and the first 5 minutes of the second half, nothing stupid, right? Because that can swing the outcome of a game so much, right? First five, nothing stupid, lads. Just go out there, play solid. That's how Red have to approach these next 5 minutes until this dragon, right? Play it safe.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't be stupid, because if you get that Infernal Soul in 4-0, then you've got the tools to be able to knock down this game.
Yeah, like legitimately just Infernal Dragon here should be enough for Brands to be able to dash forward and one-shot the Bears. That's the point that they are currently at, and they really don't need to do anything else. But that's also something that Red has been lacking in general. It's that sort of just respect and understanding of how they need to play the game. Although Morpheus, barrier coming in clutch there.
Man, yeah, that's a dub for barrier enjoyers. Clip that one.
Yeah, it works out, but it is barrier down now. It is mid lane getting pushed down now, although they are not going to fully commit on it. But I like that they are trying to get control over this red side jungle as soon as possible, and they also know that there is an Atacan already available, so they can go for it while the Varus is trying to come back. They have so much control that it kind of doesn't feel like it matters that much. Aegis walking forward.
No. And like you said, TDS, I mean, props to Cade trying to get some vision on this side, but like Red knows that's exactly where they can't surrender vision. So you know where the battle lines are going to be drawn, right? If you have first move, that might be enough. Grefthar with a beautiful stolen chains of corruption to help lock that down. To be fair, it might have been overkill. I don't know if you needed that ultimate, but it certainly helped them out. And now Trimby, his third death of the game. He has been unfortunately just on the wrong end of a lot of these trades. He's been on the front line trying to get vision, and he just gets punished for it over and over again. Here. And now Bull, I mean, my friend, you have to know that they're still there, right? I mean, surely you don't think you survive this. You know, sometimes when pro players do something that I think is dumb, I think surely they know something I don't. TDS, did he know something I didn't there?
The only guess that I can think of is that he thought they were backing away after getting the kill because they needed to reset for vision control, but like, I don't think there's enough vision control that they can get more than they already have for them to be willing to back at that point. Yeah, I'm really, there's no excuse there, because Bull also used the ultimate when he teleported in. So like, there's not even a tool for him to escape in case they try to go. Yeah, that was very committal. It's really random when you think about it. So I'll just argue that he was not paying attention. I'll just think that's the case here. And as far as for paying attention, Red, I do think that Red do not need to force any sort of play in that position, because it isn't necessarily extremely needed for them to go for. But because they are so far ahead, it works out almost every time. Because like Trimby, for as much as he may want to go for a play, there's not enough damage to follow up on him. There's not enough CC to follow up on him at this point, because if Dizamis commits, he's dead. He's way weaker than a normal Pantheon is at this point, and there's not enough damage to kill someone like Aegis, someone like FNB, someone like Greftar. If you pick Brands, that's fine. If you pick Frosty, that's fine. But you're never reaching them, because there's a front line in front of them that is always soaking out that damage, and for Trimby, it's really difficult. He may want to go for the plays, but he's not going to find the plays.
And they're making it more and more difficult here. I mean, they're up essentially a full item on some. I mean, look, Grefthar, you got to give him his respect, right? I mean, look, it's not a lane dominant performance, but with the Talia and the Silas matchup, Aegis from over the wall shuts up the the play-by-play caster. Sorry, I don't know why that came out of my mouth. But gets another kill. Aegis, dude, he's just using this ultimate on cooldown, and that makes me so happy. You have to. It's such a powerful ultimate. Like, what if you're not ripping it on cooldown? What are you doing?
Yeah, Smithy wouldn't be proud, because these ultimates are connecting consistently, and it's actually working out for the side of Red candidates. And the thing is that it feels like Red are just reading them. It's like they are trying to read an open book, and that open book is just completely blank. So it's not like they are trying to do anything big. It's just like they are reading an open book that they can find multiple opportunities on. It's so easy for them to find these picks. And Bebo is simply getting really lost around in general. Yeah, I wanted to see this because the Rift Herald wasn't used at all. Oh no, I don't think we needed to see that. I don't think it was needed to see that. Actually,
yeah, that was
That actually sums up game one pretty perfectly.
Honestly,
if you think about it, yeah, it's perfect.
True. Yeah. No, we were talking a little bit at the end of the last episode. There was a question submitted by a wonderful community member, Lunar Day. It was, of the remaining teams, actually, I think it was all LTA South teams. Who do you like? What neutral objective on the map do they correspond to? Right. And we said that Loud was Elder Dragon because they're old and they flip the game. We couldn't exactly find a great match for the Rift Herald. I think we ended up putting them with VKS stars, and it's just like, one, because they're purple and they keep just kind of bonking their head into things if things don't work. But
yeah, I feel like that it's a perfect representation of it, actually. So that's the sort of thing at that point. It's the sort of thing that I feel like you are not even mad about what happened. You just like take it and continue your life to the next game. Luckily, this is game one, so like there's so many things that can happen from now to the next until the last 3 games of the series. Ooh, great pullback there. Frosty may be dead.
Actually, phenomenal job there by Kissy to find that seismic shove, get the vision down there. Desamis, he's just too low. Doesn't get the permafrost stacks down, and thank goodness, because he was toast if they did. Kissy with a very nice wall to wrap another kill up. Just kidding. Grefthar able to flash over the wall. Didn't have his dash up, but it didn't matter. And now Brunsey fighting at a choke point as the Lucian. It's absolute candy for him. Trimby takes all the damage. FNB pops the Ragnarok, eats the Ignite, and will survive. That was the best opportunity Cade had, and they actually played the fight pretty well. Shut down there for Morteus. He's not done just yet. Bull trying to find some space for them, but Aegis and Grefthar are just too dang thick. It was an alright fight there for Cade, but Just too little, too late.
Wait, maybe one more, Aegis?
Ooh, just barely with the Q, able to
flashes.
flash away as Aegis. Grefthar not able to land the Chains of Corruption, but he can solo them down just the same. He's 2 levels up on Kissy and now waits for no mana. If he hits that E, Kissy's a dead duckling.
Oh, they're really unlucky there. Kizzy doesn't have enough mana, and Mortheus didn't have enough flashes there to be able to follow up on it. This is the sort of fight that you lose because there's such a big gold lead. Because that was perfect. That was actually
100%.
perfect by VKS. They find 2 pullbacks on multiple members. They lock down Grefthar into an awful spot. We started here, Kise, with a great angle, not respecting the vision control on the side of Bebo. They get pulled back onto Frosty, and this is something we talked about. The only members that you can 100-0 at this point are Frosty and Brent, and Frosty walks like he was some tanky member. No, you're a Nami. You're going to die. And he dies. But Trimby mispositions himself, goes too far forward, ends up getting picked up. They have a lot of follow-up damage, but not enough actual damage to make that follow-up worth it. Brands does die, and then they try to maybe re-engage here at this position. It's not the best. They do find a counter kill. The important thing though for Bebo is that they get shutdowns. So the shutdowns are what matters here, because that's going to be more net gold than just the straight up gold that Red did get. And they didn't lose an objective. So I feel like that's the best win possible you can hope for in this sort of situation for Bebo.
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, right, you got what you could, like you said. The net gold is much larger because it is that shutdown. It is a disproportionate amount. But right now, Red just looking for a pick before they get onto the Baron. Morteus gets jumped on again, and that's enough. They got what they came for. And TDS,
and that's Baron.
Like the craziest part is like it's that exact play that they've pulled over and over and over again. Red aren't like steamrolling these team fights. Aegis just jumps over the wall, ults someone, 100-0s them, and Red turn right around and go for whatever objective they were setting up for.
Whoa.
Whoa, Jasabis! It does not have that much health yet. Yeah, he had to take a guess there. They were flying completely blind. And now Red It's just time to dot some I's and cross some T's. 8,000 gold ahead. Infernal Soul. Elder up in 2 minutes. I imagine there will be a fight over that or a pick around that. But Red should have this game pretty much wrapped up. Wrapped up here.
Yeah, they shouldn't even need to force the Elder Dragon, if I'm honest.
No.
I feel like if they just push on 2 sides, they should be able to close it out. I'm not against the semis play there because I did see that there's 2 wards, one near the pit, so I think it wasn't necessarily fully blind, but he didn't even pop E. So it's not like he was able to even find anything. Oh, engaging here. It's under turret. This could be an actual good chance.
Aegis gets 100-0'd here, and the shutdown, of course, goes to Trimby, because it's been that kind of game for VKS Stars, unfortunately. Brunson gives Trimby a back massage for his troubles. FNB on the other side of that 4-1 split. Yeah, so maybe the push didn't go exactly how they wanted, but it's still a net positive Baron power play. Are we seeing the... Yeah, there we go. Sorry, my portrait on VMix is over that part of the screen. A little peek behind the curtain there. But yeah, positive Baron power play. If nothing else, they should be able to get kind of one more push off.
I will play devil's advocate here for people. I think that's the best outcome for a Baron, or one of the better outcomes for a Baron push. Because the mid lane, and I always try to mention this, mid lane is the best inhibitor to lose. Because it's the easiest to protect. It's the center of the map. You're essentially always going to be in that position, and it directs you to either objective. So you're always going to be in direct contact with this lane. You're never going to be consistently pushed because you're going to answer it, and that's the best one to always be able to answer here. In this particular position, when you're going to go for Elder, you want to have the closest proximity to it as much as possible. So it's not the end of the world. But Elder spawning in 15 seconds, they're trying to position themselves to try and go fight it out, but there's essentially no vision to try and go for it.
Yeah, and that's going to be the problem here, right? And I mean, again, it's Aegis leading the front line, right? Let's see what sort of CC they can get. They don't have a ton of damage, right? I mean, it is just Grevthar, right? Frost able to lock up some CC. Ooh, grabbing the depth charge there. That's big ultimate to yoink, especially if they fight in these choke points. Aegis went for it. Didn't rip the ultimate immediately, though. Very nice. But the Elder, yeah, up here. And yeah, like you said, TDS, it's not about forcing the Elder necessarily. It's about getting a fight around there. As near comes the CC chain. They've got the Chains of Corruption. They respond to that. Grows the tidal wave out. Grefthar still has the ultimate that he stole from the Nautilus. But that's kind of all they have here. The Ragnarok pop by FNB as well. Maybe, just maybe, this gives Cade that tiny, tiny window that they need to force something here. They have to be careful, though. It is just a game of vision right now. Brunson taking an alternative angle. Able to flash back. Almost able to be yoinked there by Trimby's hook. Grefthar still holding on onto the depth charge, waiting for that perfect
Samus.
opportunity. FNB TP's onto a ward, and he's got 3 items, baby. He's going to make it to Samus'
Grevthar
problem.
doesn't care.
Just runs him down. Does not care at all, TDS. Grevthar going to run over another member, grab a second one, a double kill to cap off an absolute slaughter by the Wolfpack. Red Canids take game 1, 20-4 over Cade. And all of a sudden, the alarm bells start going off. The sirens, the fat lady has not sung. She's not even close, but she's warming up for a quick upset in game 1, 30 minutes, but it felt so much more dominant than that, TDS.
I think that it kind of felt like that just because of that one played in the jungle, because if not, this could have been over like 5 minutes ago with how dominant Red really was. But it brings forth a couple of questions. First and foremost, what the hell, Vivo? Like, I was expecting more out of you compared to that. The second question is really good by Red. I think that one of the biggest things that I like compared to everything that we've seen so far by Red is some of the patience that they had in some situations. Yes, they had a misplay inside of the red side jungle, but I feel or the blue side jungle, but I feel like that can happen when you're that far ahead. It's ignorable because of how they played after that. But Aegis consistently finding really good angles just because of how patiently he waited for some of the engages to happen, then how they attempted some of the objectives. That last dragon play, for example, they didn't force the dragon immediately, forcing a 50-50 or anything like that. Walks into the jungle, control the vision, force some ultimates, yes, but they completely manage it out so that they are choking out the life from Bebo, so that whenever they want to engage, they can, even without ultimates. They are much stronger, and it works out perfectly. So I really like that patience that I feel like we have been lacking from Red all season long, or all split long.
I was gonna say, yeah. I mean, that was such like a relatively clean game by Red Canids.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty remarkable that they, like you said, they showed that patience, and that's like, it's. I wouldn't say it quite sums it up, but that's so emblematic, I think, of the Red Canids fan experience, because sort of like you said, TDS. It's not that they're missing, a ton. It's just one little thing here or there, because they show flashes, and their players in moments show that they are, they can be top half, if not top 3 for some of their roles, but it's just missing that little bit of cohesion. Now, I do think that, if Cade do manage to get an early game lead in one of these games, right, then we're going to really see what Red Canids are made of, because it's easy enough to win when you have a lead, but with Red Canids, like we talked about, sometimes even that isn't enough for them. But Cade, they are a team that if they get a lead, they are more consistent at playing it out. So we'll see. Any final thoughts before we send it to a break?
My only thing that I'm thinking here is for Cade is turning it around. It sounds easy, but like when you're this like splattered, and when so many things went wrong, like there's 2 outcomes here. You either laugh it off and realize that there's next game, or you let it just enter your mind as much as possible. And coming from a just complete bid down in the last matchup they had to now getting bid is so effectively here in this matchup against a much lower opponent in consideration. I want to see how much it affects like the mentality of some of these players, because like once again there are some rookies here, but there's also players that are accustomed to winning, not being this destroyed.
Yeah, and that's now in the playoffs 4 straight losses for Cade Stars. So the wheels are coming off here, but we've got a lot of ball game to play. Fearless best of 5. Hopefully we'll get, 5 games for Cade's sake, or 4 for Cade's sake, but Red Canids out to a 1-0 lead in this series. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
So hold our heads up high and beat the drum to what we love. Risk the fall, or we have felt it all come crashing down from far above. Stars are rising, countless worlds colliding, only one will take it all. Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we make the final call? We are the ones to ignite the darkened skies, the champions of the world that we defy. A soul right of the few who rise up high, and we all fight at the last light.
Welcome back, everybody. 4x4 on DDS here with you for Game 2 coming up here between VKS Stars and Red Canids. It was all red in Game 1. They got themselves a pretty good draft. I mean, I think both sides got an okay draft. This is definitely confirmation bias for me, but we saw the post-game stats. Pantheon did 1,500 less damage than the Nami, which I don't... Look, just for me, just a personal opinion, don't think that should happen. Doesn't mean Pantheon's useless. It just means he's... useless. No dragons, no towers, no, and the big zeros there, right? Kind of tell the whole story, right? The 0 towers, to have Red Canids of all team just stifle a team that knows their way around macro in Cade Stars. That was so damning to me, and this is like your worst case scenario for if you're a Vivo Cade Stars fan, because you just got absolutely embarrassed by Furia, and you kind of got embarrassed here against a team that no one is taking seriously. In Red Canids, no one, they're not going to win the title, but Cade, I think, have an outside shot to win the title. I think it's 5%, but they have a chance.
But
Red,
it was much better.
Yeah.
Like 5 is better than 0, and you just got embarrassed by the 0. That's really telling. But at the same time, if you look at it positively, right? At the very least, you got embarrassed in the first game. If it was on the third game, on the 5th game, when everything was on the line, that probably could have been worse. But so everything should be upwards from here. That being said, I do agree. As a Pantheon, you can never do less damage than an Ami. I think it also comes down a lot from just seeing the early game play from the Samus compared to what Aegis was doing. Because like I feel like Aegis
Yeah.
was trying to hover lanes
Man.
well enough, but he really just got impactful when his ultimate came up. Something that typically happens with the Sejuani. But Pantheon is a champion that from level 3 onwards, you see him ganking with his point and click, going top, going bot, going mid, ganking, and making it be as effective as possible. And this time around, we didn't see that at all. At level 6, they were fighting for Grobs. He got completely destroyed at that point, and then we never see the actual impact that Pantheon does have in general. So it just felt like a little bit of a disappointment game from the Samus in that sense, and hopefully he can turn it around. I think that there are still a good amount of options in terms of junglers that he can go for, and also for the team to set up well enough for him.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, right? I mean, you got to give him some help, but but yeah, you've got to get something more from DeSamus. Taking away the Ivern there, I absolutely love that. Actually, into Aegis and Grefthar. Grefthar has played that in the past, back in the Ivern mid days. I'd be surprised if we saw that here, but hey. Taking away the B1 Gwen as well from Bull, I think that's absolutely fair enough. Cade lost, so they are going to take that blue side. But yeah, Rumble and Jace being taken away as well. Vi, we usually see her drop into around game 3-ish priority, right? Not the highest priority, but the Xin Zhao still open, things like that. Very much up and available. But things like the Lilia as well for Aegis, right? You have to respect that he will bust out a carry. DeSamus can as well, but that's not generally how Cade have played.
Yeah, and they even consider that there's no risk in leaving open the Xin Zhao instead, so they ban away the Skarner to try and take away from that threat in the jungle. But it's going to be the Asir first pick. It was banned in the previous game, gets the opportunity to be played here, and I think after Talia is out, Kize going for the Asir makes a lot of sense. They are probably going to try and ban away some of the other mid lane champions in the second round, but as Red, you can technically just go Corki and just play mid lane, the Asir Corki matchup that everyone loves and hates, and it's going to be perfectly fine as Aegis picks the Xin Zhao, was left open, makes a lot of sense. And Rel as well for Frosty. I'm surprised they go so early on for a Rel pick here, especially when you already know the Asir in the mid lane. So kind of surprising there.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised, but I think for me, I'm a little bit more surprised that they didn't grab the Nefiri. I mean, I guess, look, you've got the opportunity to grab that in game 3, right? And Aegis, he still is, right? He can play these carries, but we'll see what Grefthar busts out here, right? If you go just double physical damage, or if you go kind of that early skirmishing. Now, the DeSamus grabbing the Trundle. Oh, bad time to yawn. I actually do like Trundle. I think it's a good pick. But I'm surprised that 0-1. It's only been picked once. Not ever, but basically ever. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you're banking that FNB is going to play something a little bit tanky, I guess, to get full value out of that ultimate, and going to blind the Ambessa here as well. So really putting their cards on the table in first rotation are VKS.
Yeah, I'm surprised they went for the Ambessa at this point. I think the Trundle is fine, like you were mentioning. Pillar Vice is actually such a bothersome ability for champions like the Xin Zhao and like the Rel. So I feel like you can follow up really well on that. The Ambessa, though, blinding it here when you already kind of lost double in the previous game, I'm surprised they went for it so effectively. But the answer for FNB is going to be the Renekton. I don't think there's going to be that big of a matchup difference in here where it's going to be damning to have picked the Ambessa now because of the Renekton. It's not, at least to me, it doesn't feel like a straight up extreme counter pick in that situation, but it's going to be good enough to have that point and click CC. Have follow up for the Xin Zhao is always going to be great as well, and it's not like Ambessa is going to itemize a straight up armor just because it doesn't feel like that's in her itemization to really go for it, so it should be fine enough. The bot lane now, though, there's going to be a lot of options that you can try and take away from the side of Bibo, and then mid lane should be the focus against Red 100%.
Yeah, Varus and Lucian already down, and the Poppy and the Alistar taken away. Maybe does that say Callista for Morteus? Try to really dominate early on. That isn't, a hugely Morteus champ, right? This is something where we have to give a little more up close and personal. But I think the Poppy ban screams Callista to me personally, right? Lucian off the table, obviously Varus off the table as well in Fearless. Maybe you go for the Ashe, right? Something a little safer, but I think you want something that's a little more. Yeah, Ashe Renata, right? You could grab yourselves that, right? You're not going to get the Renata taken away necessarily. So it'll be the Senna dropped in here for Brunsey. Still not a ton of damage coming in on the side of Red Canids. I want to see a little bit more, but obviously Senna can become a demon in the late game, but I want something like a Victor for red, kind of R5.
Yeah, that could be a good tool to try and wave clear. I was thinking here for Bibo, actually, you can technically go for the Kalista Nico if you're thinking that you want to go for the Kalista. I think Kalista is a great pick here, but instead, it's looking like potentially the Smolder going to be the choice. Smolder feels more like a Mortheus champion, so I think that it makes more sense to see it coming out here. And they probably want to have Engage as well because they are lacking some straightforward Engage. So it could be a Leona or an Alistar, actually Alistar fan away, could be a Leona angle here. I do think though that Renata, because of all the engaged tools that they do have on red, could have been a great choice. Nico as well to a certain degree, easier for her to pop her ultimate. But here with the Smolder, the Braum also makes a lot of sense for the disengage potential.
Yeah, so it is a lot of disengage. It's a lot of disruption for Cade Stars. So they don't want to be the ones starting off these fights. Red Canadians, not that they have great ways to. I mean, you've got kind of it's going to come down to that top side to start the fights, right? It's the top jungle and Frosty there. So it's not like a hard engage, right? So you need a little bit of follow up. You need some things to go right. But Grefhar's going to be on the Ziggs here, doing his best APA impression. That's a lot of damage in the late game. That's a lot of siege potential. But it's going to be a lot on FNB, I feel like, in the top jungle to get this going, because both these compositions are going to go crazy in the late game. But I would give the edge to Cade, right? Smolder and Azir, that is absolutely deadly to deal with in the late game.
Yeah, and one particular thing that I also feel like Bibo will have in their advantage for late is that there's nothing that will stop them from being able to shred every champion thanks to the having that Trundle on their side. So it's really ideal to have that sort of opportunity there. But like you're mentioning, late game wise, you get one good team fight, you get one good pool. The member champions like the Senna and the Six are forced into your face. They probably are going to die immediately. The problem though is that their range is going to be really big in the late game team fight. So it's either you play with the range from the Six and the Senna and you play around it well enough, or you try to force way too heavily and you get just collapsed on by the side of Kid. It's going to be an interesting duality to try and see in this game.
Yeah, and I mean, I worry a little bit for Cade, right? Because if you're playing a composition that wants to kind of, you want them to go forward into you, right? And you want to play on the counter, to use a soccer analogy. But like you said, the range, I think you hit the nail right on the head there, right? Yes, FNB and the frontliners have to get up close and personal, obviously, but if you don't get on to Grevthar and Brunsey, they will just rain damage down onto you, and that's going to get even tougher to deal with in the late game. So it's just going to be really tricky to actually execute this, I think, for Cade. Right now, again, Red are a bit of a chaos engine. They don't play the game by the book, despite what you saw in Game 1, which was actually some pretty stellar League of Legends, if I do say so myself. But that is not their MO. That's what they can be. And I think if you're a Red Canids fan, it's frustrating because you see games like this and you go, where the hell has this been? All split. We're playing clean League of Legends. We're team fighting well. We're getting picks. We're playing opportunistically. It reminds me of the Camille Champ Select quote. Precision is the difference between a butcher and a surgeon. Red Canids are not surgeons. They are butchers. But last game, they played like surgeons.
Yeah, for the first time in the split, they play like surgeons. And honestly, if you're going to pick a place to start playing like a surgeon, actually playoffs is the best place to try and do it. So, hey, props to them for tricking everyone into thinking that they were not going to amount to much until this point. But they need to make that a consistent theme, not an occurrence that happens once, but it's something that actually will turn out much more consistently. As they go to get a dip vision, they will try and find something more in their favor, but they may get actually no, they have vision, so it's not going to turn bad in any way. Really nice move here by Red.
Able to get some of that early vision, like you were saying. Brunsey grabbed himself, I'm assuming, a stack of something here. It will be, I'm assuming you're right, that 80 carry Senna. Yeah, Senna's such a funny champion, dude. It's just like, Riot just like, they look in the general direction of the numbers. They change something like 0.25%, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, we're playing the shit out of this champion. Now, pardon my French, but like, she's such a funny champion because she's such a unique, obviously, from a design perspective, and so sensitive, right? So sensitive to any of these changes. Brunsey gonna hop in immediately here onto Morteus, and really no damage back trading, right? So the range advantage, you've got that here if you're Brunsey and Frosty. Morteus, I mean, yeah, you can use some abilities to get some advantages back in terms of range, but I'd be very curious to hear what Hafa, our interviewer, is asking Vaughn, or BLZ, excuse me, over there. That's one thing I do miss when we were partnered, is that we had someone in the arena actually giving us live interviews. That was like, there were a lot of cool things about being partnered, like getting paid, but I think one of the coolest aside from that was the fact that we got was the fact that we got in-game interviews and could tailor questions and operate like an actual professional broadcast.
It's probably something like, yeah, I just told them to play like normal, and it's just Bebo. They're bound to make some mistake, and we would just win. That's it.
I guess, man. Right? I mean, it's shocking the way that some of this has gone. Because Cade, like we said, I mean, the Fourier series was absolutely wild, but this first game against Red Canids, that was really ugly. But Red Canids, they've got to do it 2 more times here. And shout out to the broadcast team for putting the number of stacks, a number of souls that Senna has, right? That little number on the top right. It's a little tough because it's a white number on a white colored portion of that portrait, but you should be able to figure it out. I believe in you guys. We have the smartest viewers in the whole world. But Grefthar and Kissy trading back and forth here now. Yeah, this late game comp should be okay for Red Canids, but as we get the tri lane here, any lane that stands out to you? TDS, because I mean, like we said, the top lane should be kind of 50-50. Kissy and Grefthar, they both have range. They both want to just play it safe and skill for the late game. Is the bottom lane calling out your name, or are we going to get a snoozer here early?
So everything actually falling kind of into place to what I was expecting. I'm worried about the bot lane though, because we already saw Mortheus actually have to back. He actually already backed from the lane, but it means that he not only missed around a little bit of the experience, but he also is going to be behind in CS at this point, actually quite heavily to Brands. He's going to be pushed into the lane as well. They are looking for Brands here since he's alone, but they're not even going to find a good angle. Really nice by Brands, just playing off the range really well, especially in that 2v1 situation. The Rel is already upside on the top side.
Yeah, Frosty getting liberated from lane here early on. FNB does have the big empowered stun, and Bull should go down here. FNB, one more auto should do it. The Ignite goes down, actually able to swipe it away. Very nicely done, well timed there by FNB. Brunson gonna get the heal off there from his abilities. Morteus has to flash away. Aegis showing up here. You thought you didn't have to fight a 2v2? Aegis says, no. I'm going to show up in your lane and make this your problem here. And now with the Hex Flash over the wall, Frosty is just everywhere, lands the Shattering Strike. What are we doing? Oh my goodness, just barely gets the shield up from his E. Kissy survives by the skin of his teeth, but it is all Red Canids here early. TDS, they're up 1,000 gold almost.
Yeah, they're up 1,000 gold, and they are going to be up even more. Grefthar actually has an angle there for a bomb, but it's so bad for Keys in this position because he may have survived, but he's losing a wave. He no longer has teleport. It's difficult for him to come back, and bot lane may be dead once again. They have no flash on Mortheus.
I mean, this is the Red Canids of old. This is absolutely beautiful. What a gorgeous piece of nostalgia. If you are a Red Canids enjoyer from when they won those back-to-back titles in 2021 Split 2, 2022 Split 1. Just absolute mavens in the early game. And how about Grefthar, man? Yes, he's gotten some help from Frosty and Aegis, of course, but the eternal knock on Grefthar is that he doesn't play for himself. He doesn't get enough CS. He's up 10 CS now. Again, small sample size alert. Fire up the klaxons. And there's a little bit of bias because I do love Grefthar. I think we got to interview him when we did the finals in Hisifi. He is one of the kindest players I've ever had the pleasure of interacting with, and no one has a bad thing to say about him as a person. As a player, a little bit different, but he is the nicest guy in CB LoL, so I'm always rooting for him.
Yeah, and it's working out for them so far, especially because they get a win in topside, they get a win in mid lane, and they get a win in bot lane. Every place in the map that should have been pretty quiet gets a win, and this all starts off of just having a better advantage in the bot side. They push the wave, they open up space for Frosty. Brands is able to 2v1 the side of VKS pretty effectively, and there's nothing that they can do to stop it at all. And I'm not really sure what VKS can do at this point to try and not only mitigate it, but try and come back. I feel like the best possible thing for them is just wait it out. Do not be aggressive. Do not force any sort of play. You have 2 scaling champions, but more importantly, you have champions that will get better at level 6. So you just wait for that level 6 power spike and play around that as much as possible, as the dragon will fall down in favor of red.
Like in the first game, so in the second game. Able to grab themselves the first dragon of the game on the back of 2 kills, 1 for Aegis, 1 for FNB. Seems like a replay of game 1 so far. Grefthar has level 6, so could get a big old ultimate off here. Aegis at about level 5.5. They're actually pulling off of this. They've got some help from Brunsey. The Ambessa has come down. Bull is down there. Morteus actually up on the top side. So good enough by Cade to force red off the dragon there.
Yeah, and ideally here, the fact that Mortheus is by himself topside, but able to at the very least farm up and be able to contest it, it's good enough for them. Now they are going to try and look for Bull here. Enough mobility to not be as scared against the Rel as he was in topside, but importantly, he is really far behind. Look at the CS differential between him and FMB. It's almost 20 CS, now about to be like 20 exactly, well, less than 20 now, but it's still such a big differential where if you look at the rest of the lanes, it's much more competitive between the players.
Yeah, no, it's actually going okay, aside from that. To your point, I want to see FNB. I mean, look, he got that first kill. That's huge as a Redacted. And FNB, he can play these sorts of, these bruisers so well. You can put him on a carry champion, and he'll make it happen. He knows how to take angles in fights. He knows how to find the correct, the correct flanks and whatnot. Red Kid is now going to try potentially this dragon again. The Void Grubs has spawned. Actually, just as I say that, Brunsey comes up towards the mid lane, but he's just taking the scenic route to get to the ultimate destination, which is the top lane, as the Grubs spawn here. They've got enough priority. FNB doing his job, a level up on the Ambessa in the top lane, in the mid lane. Yeah, this should be free. Can they respond with the dragon, though, is my question. The pings have come down there. DeSamus heading towards the dragon.
Yeah, maybe a little bit too late, but actually because of how long it takes them to take one grub, it is going to be enough time, I would say, for them to be able to take down the dragon down the downside in the bot lane. That being said, because of how many turret plates they actually get in the top side, I feel like they can try and rush for this first turret in favor of them. They do have a 6, but they are going to get, Kize, it's going to be fine. Oof. So they are going to be able to move around there. They are going to be able to stop the push onto the top lane. And even though Kisi is forced into a weird spot going against the rail and the Senna, it also opens up a little bit of space for Mortheus. All in all, not the worst situation, but certainly still something that Vivo are not going to be extremely happy with, because it's going to take away from some of their pressure as well.
Yeah, FNB, I mean, just funneling gold into him of all people, right? And just opening up that side lane where, yes, FNB can get there, right? But Grevthar, right? You can wave clear from a distance. He's not a side laner, obviously, on the Ziggs, but you can wave clear and you have a little bit of self-peel. That's more than some champions have. So he could do a job up there in the right circumstances, be able to open that up early. And again, through a game and a third, right? Cade got 0 towers last time around. That to me was the most damning statistic, that they got absolutely nothing. And again, credit to Red, because for every throw there's a catch, etc. Right? Red put them in a tough spot. Sidesteps the Glacial Fissure. Brunsey says, "Thank you very much. This is where I'm going to be able to get some return back." Throwing up the thumbs up to Trimby. Oh my goodness, I missed the ultimate. Ooh. But you can tell he's fuming under there.
He used Ghost. I'll take that. I take that as a small win for Trimby, that he used Ghost. Okay. I still do not understand why you would force something like that, but it's also why I'm surprised Trimby opted into the Braum. I don't think it's about choice. I do think that it's weird, considering that they did have a little bit of a lack of engage in this game, and this is where it's going to be more damning compared to if they were a little bit more ahead. Because with a Braum, you are going to lack the engage potential. It's kind of going to fall into Emperor's Divide or Ambessa ulti to force an engage on them. And if you're going to be needing those two abilities to be able to force an engage, you're going to be in a really tough spot, because we already talked about the range that both the Senna and the Six will have, but also just the tankiness that they were going to have to go against before they can even reach the backline. That's going to be scary for them.
Yeah. They, you see, Absolute, former player, now big-time streamer on the bottom of your screen, tweeting out, Super Canids. Grev gitando y rolando, making it happen, dictating the pace of the game, and rolling over his opponents. Again, Grevthar, one of the more polarizing players in CBLOL, but God bless him, he's back. He's back on the top, and he's making things happen. Still 0-0-0, right, but a quiet game early on here. But Red Canids very much in control, giving Aegis a little bit of food there in terms of the camps. But yeah, to go back to what you were saying about the Braum choice and being reflective of the whole philosophy as DeSamus gets bullied out of his jungle. It's been that kind of game. No objective to fight over so far here, but yeah, man, I mean, the Braum fits in terms of it is a disengaged composition, right? It is a, hey, if you fight into us, then, okay, great. You've got Morteus that has some self-peel. He can fly backwards, right? Bull can get a pick, right? He can, be a disruptor. You've got the Pillar from DeSamus. You've got the Emperor's Divide. Obviously, there's so many great tools, but, if you can just get farmed from, a screen away by Grevthar and Brunsey and get your HP reduced to 2/3 of it, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah, this is one of those compositions or one of those games where I understand the reasoning why they go
100%.
for it, but I feel like the decision to go for it was a little bit misplaced at the time of when they went for it. As we see in a Tempo dive here, and it's going to be difficult to even pull it off. They have Pillar of Ice here, yeah. It's going to be enough to be able to rush away, but as long as they are able to buy time here, you can look at the bot side is actually pushing in favor of VKS, and they have members already ready to respond here. They may lose the turret. Actually, they don't even lose the turret just yet. So it's time that they can make use of before it gets completely destroyed, which will happen now, probably. Oh,
Yep, they go for the dive. There goes the public execution. Ult over the top. Another ult over the top. The
damage.
Dawning Shadow. But now the disengage coming out here. And Red don't get into tower range, so they're able to feast. FNB gobbles up Bull. Gobbles up Trimby.
Kissy.
Here comes the ultimate over the top. Not going to be enough. Kissy not able to get in range to shove anyone into the towers. And again, small sample size alert, but if these are the kinds of fights that Cade end up taking, then their composition can't do anything, right? You saw nothing go well for them, and Trimby didn't even hit his ult.
And once again, this is a composition that forced the engage with no actual engage. It was the Ambessa, the one that forced the engage there, and it was also disjointed. That's also a problem, but that's a different sort of problem that they have to deal with. But this is forced when Asir and Smolder are not even close. They are trying to force a kill onto a member when there's already 5 members ready to respond. But the biggest issue here is that the one that forces the issue here is the Ambessa. It's not another champion. When Ambessa is the one that commits, she's going to die much quicker because she has no resistances. And that's why I was trying to mention the composition problem that they forced here is not necessarily that their comp is bad. It's that their comp was picked, I think, in the wrong order. Because of how early they picked the Trundle and how early they picked the Ambessa and the Asir, they were forced into a situation that support is now obligated, essentially, to be the engager or to have an engaging support. So even though the Braum makes sense, they are lacking just straight up engage to force fights. That's why I was mentioning Leona, because it's the easiest champion to have a straight up engage, but also that you can play between engaging and not engaging, because she has a point and click ultimate from a safe distance that you don't need to follow up at all. But because you're playing Braum now, there's no point and click CC ultimate, there's no easy to follow up engage on, and you're putting every egg on being able to get the win early on, so that if they are the ones engaging on you, this composition is genius. But if not, then it's going to be much difficult for you to make something happen. It's really heavily burden of execution put onto VKS that it's going to be difficult to replicate consistently throughout the game if they are behind.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at, like you were saying, if you're getting fought into, this composition works out great. And if this composition doesn't work itself out when you're defending a dive, when will it work itself out? FNB doesn't pop the Dominus just yet, but Bull hits level 11, and my god, not a moment too soon. But he is down he's down 50 CS, but like the actual items in their bags are more or less the same. He's got a Tunneler, does FNB, so actually not a crazy uneven trade here. But Redkinids gonna grab themselves. Okay, Cade did get a dragon early on, so you're not getting perfect.
Improvement from the previous game.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
oh boy.
much better.
Yeah, Brunsey able to get some damage down on the Trimby as the lockup comes in. Mom gets called in over the top, does absolutely nothing in the early game. Maybe he will be a big dragon one day. Maybe his mom will be able to help out one day. But 15 minutes in with only 132 stacks, that is not that time. They prevent the push, but for how long? Brunsey going into that static shift very early on. And you see, again, just the priorities for this composition, right? I mean, yes, you can still do a lot of damage with a static shift. It's not as useless in terms of combat power as it used to be. But that wave clear, him combined with Grevthar, oh my goodness, that is tough.
Yeah, pushing against him is going to be extremely difficult, and it just makes the lack of wave of engage even more damning, because that fight there, you can see how Brands was quickly like forced into about 50% health. But since there's no way to follow up on that, it's difficult to kill Brands in that situation. It's just going to be a very difficult game for VKS to find multiple opportunities to fight it out. And I think Red, once again, coming from their previous game, they're doing an amazing job at playing it calmly and understanding what they need to do in general, because they are not forcing fights, they are not making really bad trades, they are playing the map as best as they can with a 6 that if you play around it smartly enough, you're going to take down every turret around the map, and they have done that perfectly fine. So it's all on understanding what your composition needs to do and how you need to force anything in this game. And I'm not sure if it's Shobi-esque, but it certainly looks like that.
Yeah, a little bit, right? Red in the playoffs came with Grevthar Shippuden 2.0 Redemption Dark Side Aura. That's a great tweet. Yeah, they look unstoppable.
Of course.
Right, I'm not unstoppable. Let's pump the brakes there. They're not world
Hey,
beaters,
one,
but yeah.
one more turret in their favor, at least, for VKS.
Yeah.
Better than last game already.
Yep. Able to round the corner there. Trimby throws the shield up. Mom gets called in over the top again. Doesn't land anything. Brunsey showed up there with the help of the Hallowed Mist. Now Kissy coming in on the other side. Maybe they've got a shot here. They're actually pulling a pincer move off, but that's a lot of shielding from the Dawning Shadow. It's just not coordinated. I saw the vision there for Cade. Kissy was in the right place at the right time, but the rest of the pincer didn't come down. But FNB's got 5 kills now. Morteus grabs himself a kill. The tower goes down as Grevthar takes care of business. Bull has to flash away. Morteus gets farmed by Brunsey. More souls for the Soul God. Another fight win for Red Canids, and they have pushed into the base here almost of VKS Stars. Just 18 minutes in, on the verge of a 2-0. TDS, I did not have this on my bingo card, man.
And I don't think anyone was expecting this, but I wasn't expecting Kissy to not even ult when he came from that angle. It looked like the perfect angle finally for VKS. The one fight that they needed to be able to pull off the game back into their favor was this one, because they had multiple flank angles. They were collapsing on the members right. Look at where everyone is positioned. The teleport is perfect because he can find Grefter here, but he was looking to try and get the angle here. He didn't throw the ultimate or throw himself into the side, doesn't fight the kill, and it's not able to get anything. As in live they are fighting, but it looks like they don't really care about live. Yeah, it just worked out much at the
Oh, hang on a second
Okay,
here.
they
They're
get a kill.
actually able to get a pick here, but is it just a wallet diff right now? Finally, the ult goes off there for Kissy. Bull in a lot of trouble, able to get himself a little bit of healing back. Brunsey over the wall, flashes and autos him down. Not able to find this mark, the abilities onto Brunsey, able to just outrange here. Now here comes Mom again over the top, and now Morteus, maybe one more auto would do it, but he can't get in range. Throws a snot ball at him and will get the shutdown. Trimby staying alive for just long enough to do absolutely nothing and get farmed again by Grevthar. Again,
wait, Grefter may be dead.
He might be here. Frosty able to get the lockdown here. Grevthar, yeah, if you can't land your abilities, brother, you're going to be in a world of hurt. No taking damage down for him, but still playing with fire, able to launch bombs over the top. DeSamus does not have a flash, so can't get in range to punish the little Yordle, everyone's favorite champion. And TDS, man, I mean...
Wait, Greftar, get the hell out of there!
Yeah, I don't know what the hell he's still doing here. Able to get the W down, maybe? Never mind! All part of the plan! Come get me, big guy! Oh, man, it's all going wrong for Cade Stars. They cannot do right for doing wrong, man.
Look, what's a throw with a hammer against a squirrel with grenades? Like, legitimately, it doesn't work that well, I guess. And he gets the kills. Man. I don't know how, but Greftar is unkilled, just completely destroying everyone. And that previous fight is all on Greftar, by the way. That could have been complete disaster for Red. After an initial engage that was looking really good for VKS, they find multiple kills. Morteus wasn't even close there, and they were turning it around so effectively. And when Morteus arrived, it should have been cleanup duty for the little dragon. But the squirrel is much stronger than the dragon with grenades, it seems like, and throwing bombs out, throwing everything out, able to burst out a lot of damage. And also, once again, range was so meaningful there.
Yeah.
Because Morteus has short range. He has a lot of damage, but short range. Where Brands was able to farm from a safe distance, or at the very least attack from a safe distance. He gets killed, but not enough to be worried about it as,
Yeah, I tried to swipe away the Otacon with the Dawning Shadow. Brunsey, if he would have gotten it with that, I think just pack it up. Don't even play Game 3 if you're Cade, because the gods have decreed that you will not be able to win if Brunsey swipes that away. But Otacon was taken there by Cade. 26 stacks until Morteus is all grown up here. But Red Canids, man.
But how many stacks does Brands have? I think that the Senna is also growing really strongly here. She's getting stronger and stronger by the minute, and it doesn't look like they have stopped her from farming very well. So it's going to be a scaler against scaler, a stacker against stacker, and whoever has the better stacking team, or the better teammates to help the stacker, is going to have a much better time.
Yeah, going with the double black cleaver here as well. Don't know if you have any thoughts on that. Super
I'm
Brent
fine with
saying, yeah, no, I mean, yeah, you know, get some on the front line, some on the back line, right? But and Grevthar, I would love to see his damage at the end of the game. So I think he's probably just printing damage at this point. And FNB is such a menace. He's scaled so nicely into this late game, right? Just taken, you know, he has pretty much negated the normal scaling curve of a Renekton. But
yeah,
man, oh man, yeah, this is a rough one here for VKS Stars. They've gotten absolutely nothing going here, right? Maybe you get 15 more stacks. maybe you can get that big old team fight, right? Because again, the composition for Cade isn't bad. If Red miss position here, and God knows they have been known to do that. Mom over the top, Trimby throws up the shield, Brunsey able to get it back from the side. There's a ton of damage coming out. Now the Dawning Shadow will provide them a little bit more here, but my goodness, I think that was Kissy's soul. I don't even know. And now Grefthar able to grab the kill onto the Samus. They've got that range advantage like we were saying. You can't play into them. Once they get up close and personal, it's enough, but they can't get close enough to this gosh darn squirrel with the grenades.
And Kizzy is way too late to that fight. He takes down the turret, but I feel like you have to preemptively teleport there because Mom was flying way before the fight started. They are going in. Frosty's even forcing even more.
Man, Frosty going forward. They just go around the tower. It doesn't even matter. Kissy able to get the return kill, flashing away there. But Brunsey and Aegis take the blast code over. They've got the range advantage again. Now just farming onto Trimby. Maybe Kissy can get forward here and get something done. But Brunsey just staying right outside of tower range, and it doesn't matter. 5 kills now for Brunsey, a double kill for Red Canids as they try to put this one in the bag.
Yeah, they're trying to close it out there, and the fight for how close it was, it's all in favor of Red Canids once again. 4-1, actually, yeah, 5-1, because at the end, Brom and Nasir did end up dying, but they are just finding so many advantage there, and that was such a good fight by VKS once again. They find a good angle, they get a lot of damage down. Mortheus is actually dealing quite a lot of damage onto multiple members, but the problem here is that it was a 5v4. Kizzy arrived way too late in that fight. If he is there at the start with a potential shove from the Asir, we're going in way too late here because it's after Mortheus already died. And this is when it's easier to try and clean up. At least Kizzy gets a kill. I'm not sure if it's a shutdown though. No, it's not a shutdown, which is the unlucky part. Could have been much more gold. But if they are able to have Kizzy at the start of that fight, he gets in with the Emperor Sweep, and it's able to provide the support for the rest of the team to lock down targets like Ramsey, like Grefthar, then that fight looks completely different. But Grefthar, once again, is just really far away, throws out multiple bombs, the ultimate also comes down. As soon as there's some lockdown, someone dies really quickly, and then you have multiple opportunities for brands to have consistent damage to kill multiple members. It's really difficult for BKS if they are not getting those sorts of angles there.
There's nothing they can do, right? And it's a shame because I feel like in the late game, for last game and this game, we've seen some decent fights, and Cade Star is actually executing on their composition and on their win condition, but it's just too little too late. It's just a wallet diff by that point, and a scaling diff, right? Brunsey, guess what? He doesn't have to get in range of the tower because he outranges the tower now. Actually, I don't know if that's technically true, but in practice, he does, right? There's no way they can shove him in. You see the total damage there. Brunsey and Morteus kind of similar, but Grefthar about 3,000 ahead of everybody else. And Bull actually has 3,000 more damage under his belt than FNB. Did not expect that, but look, all that matters is that right now there's a 9k gold lead at 25 minutes. 2 dragons to 1, 30 seconds left until the Infernal Dragon. And now Cade are in a very tricky position here, TDS, because they've got to choose which objective they contest, or do they just concede the Baron, which is probably a death sentence, to get that little bit of extra combat power.
I think you give up the dragon, to be honest here. You can fight for it, but I feel like you have to have control over the Baron buff, because with range advantage and 6, you lose your base immediately if you give up Baron buff here. So you have to try and fight around it. I will say though quickly, I think Mortheus here can carry this game out. He actually deals a lot of damage onto Grefthar and Brands, and it's been consistently now where one good team fight for them, he has been able to run down Brands really effectively. So if they just need to find a good angle for Mortheus to really pop up. It's difficult, it's easier said than done, but it's the angle that they have to win. Oh,
wee! It's a flash out of Grefthar. Here comes Mom. It clips Grefthar, getting a little bit of that ticking damage down. He's got 225 stats,
Brands
269. In fact, Brunsey also flashed, like you said. Dawning Shadow. Just getting a little bit of extra damage, giving FNB a little bit more shielding as he looks for an angle here onto Trimby. If he can get the blast cone out, he might be okay. They contest the vision around the Baron.
That's worth.
The health bars are about even. They can contest this. They don't have enough safety to be able to take down this Baron. Do they just go off it and try to maybe go for a pick if you're Red Canids after the fact?
Well, they can move down towards the dragon here and just try and get the objective easy, because it's not going to be that contested. Although I think Trimby does have teleport thanks to the unsealed spellbook, yes. So he's going to be able to come back here without much of a fight. They will try and look for Baron. They actually can take it down quickly thanks to the Asir. So they're going to force them into a weird spot. This is actually the best spot for the composition for BKS. Reactive position, not needing to answer, but instead reacting to whatever answer comes through. Although they are pushing mid lane now.
Yeah, Aegis and company might just be saying, all right, we'll send a 4-1, right? We'll try to take down this mid-tier
really
1
smart
because,
choice.
I mean, they just annihilate. Look how fast that freaking look how fast it fell, dog. Like, there's nothing you can do.
That.
Now here's an interesting pivot point, right? Because, okay, you focus on the dragon. You can take that down pretty quickly. Cade actually have good damage, right? If they've got Morteus and Kissy there, they can take down this Baron in no time flat.
That's going to
they finally pull off. Yeah, that was
fine.
not the right call there by Red Canids. They've got to fight here. This could be the game hanging in the balance right now in this fight. Brunsy giving a little bit of a speed up. Here comes Mom again over the top. FNB, he might have his ultimate back and actually stolen away. My goodness, but Frosty just gets ripped to shreds.
Too far,
so
though.
does Aegis. And now they get Beyond Shadow over the top. FNB trying to take Bolt out of this fight. Bombs come raining down from the range from Grevthar. Gets a little bit more off that. They got the Baron and no deaths. So Cade Stars not going quietly into that good night.
Yeah, and this is the thing. This is what their composition was built for. If you get first to an objective, for Red, it's close to impossible to be able to fight it out because they need to fully commit. But if you fully commit, you're playing into the hands of what VKS wants to have. Oh, Aegis.
Hang on a second. Desaba's over the wall. He swiped it away. Getting a little bit after here. Now, Trippy, they're not done yet. They're trying to go for everything. This is the Cade we wanted to see. Fighting back massively. Holy moly, it's a 4-for-0. Triple for Bull. Morteus giving the Elder Dragon buff to his team. Hang on a second, TDS. We've got a bowl game.
Yeah, it may not be Elder Dragon just yet, but you have a dragon that is quite strong at this point, executing champions left and right. It's 30 seconds for most members. Can they actually win it out here? They have Baron buff, they have 4 minions, they have a Seer and a Smolder. It's only Frosty.
We did say, right, this composition makes sense. They gotta look at the 7,000 gold just off that Baron. And in the late game, this composition is gonna be impossible to deal with. Frosty, he's just gotta try to hold him off. That's what you gotta do. Can they end here? There's 10 seconds left until the other members come back up. They're just gonna rip through the Nexus. TDS, that should be game here unless there's a miracle. It is enough. Vivo Cade Stars pull a rabbit out of a hat. What a comeback by the Guerreros. Unbelievable.
I have no word. It worked. It worked. It worked. That's all that matters. They won. That's it. Some peak entertainment right there. Like the meme says, cinema right there. Because it should have been Red's game. They had inhibitor turret down on bot side. They had control over Baron and control over Dragon. They had a 6 with 100,000, 80 something damage and range. Everything should have worked for them, but they committed one big mistake, and that was the Baron play, the Baron positioning for the play. Everything inches down to that one play because they played to the one win condition that Kid has, and that was disengage into their team fight. But because they gave them position, they finally were able to find the right fight. And after that, the steal and all of that is hypey, but I feel like that is the one play that they couldn't have done at all.
Unbelievable. Yeah, that it just came down to that, right? And that's the thing, right? With Cade, that's the one thing you could trust, right? They are still a good macro team, right? Furia probably the best macro team in terms of just kind of pound for pound. But Cade actually played that so well, and I mean, I hope this gives them a shot in the arm to say, look, we can win this, right? They drafted okay, like you said. In context, it was it was a little bit fishy.
Exactly.
But like you said, it was just that one. You give them an inch, and with this composition, we called it out in draft, and we didn't talk about it because I didn't think the game would go until this composition was going to be useful. But if you can get a good Trundle ultimate, and between a Zir and a Smolder, right? It's still Smolder. After 225, it's still a Smolder, and he just starts printing damage.
And Mortheus was doing a great job. I think Mortheus played this game out really well. His early lane phase was in a bad spot, and he played it out perfectly. And I think if not for, once again, the lack of a straightforward engage, we probably could have seen Mortheus get 1 or 2 more kills. The thing, though, is that because he was able to not be how to put it, he wasn't like throwing his life away consistently. I would say, like, compared to the previous game, he didn't die 5 times like he did with the Bears, and importantly, he had damage for later stage fights. The big problem in the previous game was that they were banking on a poke Bears and a Talia to deal damage. This time around, you had a Seer and Smolder. That's a huge jump in terms of damage for late game, and in those fights, he was effective in that sense. But like you're mentioning, the mid game for Red was questionable because of how they opted into certain situations. But I won't say that it's in general questionable because I think that they were managing it out really well. It's just
Yeah.
2 or 3 plays that if they don't commit them, they win the game out because they have 6 Senna.
Yeah, well, and then that's the thing,
It's,
right?
it's weird.
Because if you have a that big of a gold gap, right, 9,000, then
Yeah.
you can opt into riskier situations because they are not risky by definition, right? You are not playing on an equal
Exactly.
playing field, right? So I don't fault Red's decision making all that much. I think I give more credit to Cade of just like taking that little gap and just
Yeah.
going hard committing into that fight, playing the composition how it should be. And again, I love that you shouted out Morteus. I mean, because what a game from him, man, right?
Agreed.
This is a
Really
Morteus
needed.
champion. Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
needed, really good turnaround. I think good for them. A cinema for us because that was not the expected outcome after how it started. But you know
No.
what? Screw the expected outcome. I'm all here for this sort of
Yeah, come on, man.
shenanigans. This is why this is the best entertainment region in the world, and we need more of these games going forward.
Exactly. And now the fun starts because now you want to talk about, again, a vibes-based team. How do Red Canids respond
Yeah.
after an absolute gut punch? They got the wind knocked out of them. And guess what? Now it's a best of 3 with the season on the line. Tied 1-1. We'll take it to game 3 after this break. Don't you dare go anywhere. back, squad. Game 3 coming up here between VKS Stars and Red Canoe. I'm still 4x4. That is still TDS, but this is no longer a one-sided series. TDS, one of the more entertaining games of the split, one of the more bizarre endings we can remember. Red Canids throw a game away from up almost 10,000 gold that would have put them up 2-0 in this series. We get the post-game stats on the screen for you. And the thing that stuck out to me, you pointed this out to me, TDS, this was under 30 minutes.
Yeah, it felt like it was lasting way longer than that, especially for how they end up winning. It was Dragon into, or Baron into Dragon into end the game, and 40-second timers for most members. It's surprising to see, but still, it's kind of unlucky for Red. Or better said, it's really unlucky for Red.
Yeah.
Because like they had a lot of control in the game for a long duration, and they just grabbed the defeat from the jaws of victory in a way. They were trying their hardest to make it work out. I will say though, there were a lot of conditions needed to happen for BKS in that game for it to work out, and the particular one was the position finally being able to work out, and it did. So props to them for finding that angle, and it's going to stay blue side and red side for both of them.
Yeah, and I mean, look, we called it out, right? I mean, that if you can get to the late game, that composition was going to just, I mean, it was going to be so easy to play, right? Morteus is just like, oh, I right-click one person and 3 people behind them also take damage? Well, that's an interesting little wrinkle. And it was absolutely absurd what he was able to do on that champion. And now, I mean, this is the most important game of the series here, right? Depending on how this goes, this could swing the momentum so heavily, one way or the other. Nefiri grabbed here by Aegis. I wanted to see them try this at least once. Put Aegis on a carry, right? Especially when you are on red side, because I don't think Nefiri is getting picked to be one these days. But first rotation red side, absolutely. And now seeing Desamis respond with a Lilia. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, boys. Oh, we are in for a slapper. Strap in here. This game is going to go off the rails. And if they grab this Zeri, this is Brunsey's signature champion. He's the only dude that I trust to pilot this champion. Morteus, yeah, we'll see here. Now, the MF, if it is that, okay. All right, maybe they grab themselves the Brunsey now, do Red Canids. But with MF, controversial champion, you need the composition to be built around her.
Yeah. You need, and the setup, it does look like good enough at the moment to have that bullet time be as meaningful as possible. That being said, I think having that Ezreal here is going to be ideal. A lot of mobility, ways to play around that ultimate really well, and also can be left by himself, so you don't need to be stuck under in the bot lane and try and give him more help than he needs. Now, for the second round of bans, a lot of focus has to go towards the top side, particularly because for a composition like this one with the MF, you will need to have good setup. And that setup comes from essentially a couple of top laners, but also from some engaged supports. One of them, the Leona, may be one of the focus, but Rakan also is up there.
Yeah, no, you could definitely grab one of those. See, yeah, I mean, with Frosty, maybe you do grab something like a... I mean, or you just go poke in the bot lane, right? Bard's on the board, you go Karma. I was going to say, yeah, Ezreal Braum is always the one that comes to mind, but the Braum obviously not going to be played because of Fearless. Alistar being taken away. Yeah, I mean, there are some champions that we still just have not seen. The Gwen being taken away every game. The Vi being taken away every game. Rumble being taken away every game. And Jace being banned away every game as well. Alistar, add that to the list. Yeah, but I do think that as far as champions that can give MF room to work, right? Having a couple of melee strong damage dealers that are, short range for the Lilia, for the Yone, that just gives the other team something to have to think about, right? If you're getting, ooga booga'd on by the Yone and the Lilia, your attention can't really be paid to the back line and try to disrupt that MF.
True, if you're getting a one-shotted by the Lily and the Yone, then you pretty much have bigger problems to worry about than an MF throwing out some bullets on the side. But it's still a worry that you have to go for, as the Yorick, the last ban here. And I like the Yorick here just because the ghouls are deceptively strong, and in teamfights and areas it can be really bothersome. But here comes the Leona, one of those champions that have great setup and also great interrupt for the Misfortune. So pretty straightforward in how they want to try and stop the team fight, or the idea of the team fight from BKS, but it gives a lot of opportunity here for them to find great angles. I think Rakan is still up there to be able to be picked here, and it's looking like Trimby, probably one of the players that I trust the most with the Rakan as well, so not surprised that he goes for this here. And honestly, I think Ornn wouldn't even be a bad choice here, just because having that long range ultimate to set up for the Yone, for the Lilia, could be really good. But it is leaving it up for a counter pick, and there are situations where you probably don't want to pick it up just like that because of it.
Yeah, right. You do leave yourself open to that for sure. I don't hate the Ornn either. I think Ornn is rarely a straight up bad pick. Like you will always give your team value. You are always a meatball. You always have CC. You have sneaky damage in lane, right? It feels like we haven't seen Ornn in forever, but I still think he's a solid enough pick. Cassante will be what Bull is tasked with playing. 10 wins, 11 losses, so about a 50-50 win rate here. But yeah, but look, I actually think I love this composition in terms of giving, you've got frontliners to be able to be disruptive, right? You've got a lot of ability to just, like you said, give Red Canids more problems to think about than the Misfortune. And Morteus, he plays the game a certain way, and a lot of that is sit back and let the damage come to you, right? Stay safe, right? He plays a very safe late game focused game, right? And that can come back to bite you. I do think you need to have a little bit more than that to be a complete AD carry. But this is where he's looked his best. So I like what Cade is trying to do here. Let's talk a little bit about this Red Canids composition though. You've got a ton of damage. You've got pretty good team fight, right? Point and click CC, a big game changing ultimate in the Gnar from FNB. How do you feel this? How do you like this composition for Red Canids?
So to me, this comp is going to be defined by the mid jungle. The Greftar and Aegis here are going to be the main power point for them because their setup is going to be make or break for their team fights. Yes, you have CC from the Leona. Yes, you have the follow-up ulti from the Gnar when he's stacked. But the ultimate from the Annie is what sets up a lot of the success for. Or not the ultimate maybe, but the stun from the Annie sets up a lot of the success, and also the follow-up from the Nafiri. If you get a good 1-2 punch combo from those two champions, you can delete essentially anyone, apart from the K'Sante maybe. Actually, the K'Sante is the only thing that you probably don't delete. But every other champion in the game is deletable by these two champions. So I feel like in team fights, that's going to be the two main focus points for me. And then also their movements around the map are going to be quite important. We already saw that in previous games, how they've been trying to attempt going in different parts of the map, setting up a successful plays for the team, and also trying to throw always 1-2 punches consistently so that they can win. So I think this time around it's going to be something similar, and this duo can be even deadlier than some of the previous ones that they've had.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of just raw damage, and like you said, the ability to 100 to 0 someone and to just annihilate someone, then yeah, you've got that ability there. The Red Canids support. These are two very passionate fan bases, two fan bases that have been in the game a long time. Cade, a more historic org. They came back into the league after they didn't get accepted into the initial round of franchising, but then came back after a couple teams dropped out, and their fans are very, very happy to have them back. One of the oldest orgs in the league. They are one of the few orgs that have won a title, but have never gone to an international event because MSI wasn't a thing when they won in 2024 Split 1, so they were not able to go to MSI. Cade Stars has never seen the international stage despite being a winning historic org. They're hoping they can change that here, but right now they've got a best of 3 to play here as this series is tied 1-1. And Trimby already in a little bit of trouble here. Ooh. As Brunsey throwing out the Mystic shots there. He can get one more for sure. Oh, man. Ooh. I mean, there's not much more you can do, unfortunately, but yeah, I guess that feels good. I wonder if he started tier. That's how you get the maximum value out of what you
that was going to say. That's when you're sad about not starting tier exactly. At the Ezreal. But if he did, that's a huge heads-up play, honestly, making the most out of it. And no, it's not the case.
No, it is rarely, if ever, a good idea to start tier. Unless you know you're just going to fist the opposition. But no, but dude, these team fights are going to be very chaotic to cast. I mean, the Neferi always makes things very fun, but both of these compositions so explosive for both of these teams. And the mid-jungle, very important for both of these, right? These AD carries, they have massive range. Yes, the Brunsey has a go-forward button in the Arcade Shift, obviously, but both these compositions, they do their best work from range. And now we've got a fight brewing here. As the Ignite gets dropped down, he'll actually not drop. No, it was dropped in response. There we go. Okay, my eyes did not deceive me there. So Summoner for Summoner traded. But look, with Frosty, like you said, with this Leona, it's great setup, but just made of CC. And she got some small buffs recently, a couple patches ago. But she'll never not be an option in pro play because it's so easy to pilot.
So it is technically a summoner for summoner, but Trimby is running Unsealed Spellbook, so he's going to
Good
get
catch.
one more anyway. So it's not going to be as impactful. I do think though the health bar diff is going to be important, especially trying to get control of the lane so that you can leave the Ezreal a little bit more open, and it's going to be what ends up being a difference there. That being said, I want to see the moves from the Junkers. I'm not expecting a lot of ganking here because both of them do want to have their level 6 as soon as possible, and also it's going to be really dependent on setup. And there's two lanes that have great setup for red. There's only one really good lane for setup for VKS, which is bot lane, and then top lane you can kind of do it, but it's against an R, so it's not easy to pull it off really.
Yeah, FNB, very experienced players been playing this champion pretty much as long as it's been right in the meta. I mean, as it's coincided basically with his rise to okay, VKS stars. Look, it's just 1-1. Don't steal the loud meme. The bad thing has returned. I don't like that.
Is it bad as in their gameplay?
No, just like it's like because with loud it was like the meme was like right. The bad thing has returned. It's like, you know, like even when Loud are playing terribly, right? Loud, when they won all 4 of their titles, they never got first in the regular season. That's one of my favorite nuggets about their dynasty, right? Is like even when this team isn't that good, they still win when it counts, right? And that's kind of, I think, a lot of the spirit of the meme. And, you know, maybe Cade was doing it tongue-in-cheek, but I think only Loud gets to have that meme. But that's just me being, you know, old man yells at Cloud. Desamis, looking to get something going here onto Greftar. He does have the stun, just trying to get a kill back onto Kids. He gets the electrocute off. The shield comes down. Greftar does have the flash. Desamis read him like a book, though. Is the damage enough here early on?
Oh,
it
it's
is.
enough.
He's just not able to get there in time to save his brother.
Yeah, and I think the idea there by Grefter, not necessarily bad, but the way that the semis played around it is really good. Yeah. He actually skirted around this ward here that is in the river and played it off of the vision so well. Blowing the flash as well from Grefter means that any repeat gang is going to be really scary. So really smart pathing, really good play, and at the end, good advantage. Finally, first advantage for BKS all series long, sorry.
Oh. Yeah, finally. Now it's what do they do with it? Both these compositions, I mean, really good skirmishing kind of in the early mid game, thanks to their junglers and thanks, I mean, the mid jungle for both of these teams, right? Can be so impactful. The ultimates, really powerful on both sides. In the bottom lane, nothing too crazy going here. No crazy CS discrepancies, kind of one way or the other. But that early kill onto Desamis, onto Lilia, would be is absolutely huge. Got himself the Faded Ashes. And for Aegis, I mean, if you lose to a Desamis on Aegis, the signature champion, the Lilia is a pocket pick of his that he's had even when it hasn't been meta. They pulled out some crazy stuff. The Lilia Scion from last split that he and Grevthar would run actually got them some wins, just barely not connecting there from Frosty. Although maybe it's not the worst thing in the world if that didn't connect. I don't think that trade would have gone super well. But what do I know? FNB abusing the range advantage he has onto Bull there.
Yeah, you're never too sure about how effective some of that is going to be, but like you're mentioning, top lane is pretty much what is expected. You get pushed because of the range. You also have some health regen, so it's easier for you to try and play it around. And apart from that first kill, everything else is just feeling like it's into place for both sides. Particularly the fact that Aegis is ahead in terms of CS, even though he did lose on the first blood, still good enough for the side of red. And it's important to notice as well, as soon as they hit the level 6 mark, that's where you will begin to see much more of the impact from this Naafiri, because of the execution potential and also the reset potentials that you can bring with it. As they wanted to set up a play here, but really nice by Trippy just to spot it.
Yeah, spots it out, kind of shadowing Desamis as well, double duty there. Able to get Frosty out of a dangerous position. See if Grevthar responds here. I mean, you gotta know that something's going on here. Grevthar can't commit too far forward unless, of course, you got Brunsey here. Able to sidestep that, but the Fate Seal comes out, and they're gonna 100-0 Grevthar. Able to get the stun down with Timber, is able to get enough damage down for Frosty to pick up the kill.
Yeah, they wanted to 100-0 someone, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't Kiza that wanted to die like that. Really good response coming in by Red. They read the play really well in that situation. Brand's even collapsing in that spot. They may lose a little bit of the Sia. Actually, no, I'm not even sure if he loses a lot of this wave just because of how short the distance was. But the only unlucky part is Frosty is the one that gets it. Still, it's a really good play for them and something that they needed to try and get back in their favor.
Yeah, exactly. You needed something, right? Just to get a little bit of A little bit of pressure back, and now is it enough to take down this dragon? That's certainly what they're hoping. Might not be enough here. No one's level 6 just yet, but DeSamus is really close. If he just gets near something, he could pop 6, and that could be what swings the fight. Grifthar is back. Does not have his ultimate, obviously, but still has point-and-click CC and has the combat just
That's
being
a lot of
level
damage.
6. 4 to 3, or I should say 4v3, but now Kissy shows up, makes it a 4v4.
Ooh.
They're getting the chase there out of DeSamus. Trimby could help out if he can get over the wall. Now the leashing going
That's
back
a
and
lot
forth.
of
Dragon
damage.
gonna regen. And they're gonna get the scuttle, our red Knids, and that might be the only consolation prize they get. But as I say that, Kate Stars look like they're backing out.
Yeah, this looks like to be a Dragon 4 red. They now have advantage in terms of not only health bar because the Samus was poked out, but also because they now have the numbers advantage. They also had still some of the potential play with the stuns from the Annie, and now with Regis having ulti, it's impossible to be able to fight it out. So first objective of the game, once again, going for red. They will try and get this wave more than likely and then move towards the top side so that they can go and thread the grubs. That's the typical play that we have seen all series long, so wouldn't be surprised if it's going to be once again here. Oh.
Yeah, not at all. FNB doing a ton of damage here on the Bull. Able to get some return fire, and we are going to get a replay.
Yeah, it's just the previous play that we saw in the mid lane. Really nice setup there. Greftar actually evading the initial part of the engage. And actually the ultimate here, stopping the bowling ball from connecting onto Greftar. That is some extra damage that could have been meaningful in trying to take down the Annie, at the very least as a trade kill. But the response by Red was really good. They were ready to act on it, and they also had the members ready to respond. Interestingly though, Brands is bot side.
Yeah, Brunsey is on the opposite side of the map. Not going to be able to help out here should a fight break out. And it looks like a fight just might break out. Aegis might be in a little bit of trouble. He's got flash should things go sideways.
They reset.
But the one grub goes over to Cade. Let's see if FNB can get in there. He doesn't have his ultimate, but he is going to go Mega. Provide a little bit more of a tanky frontline presence. But it's a 5v4 now. Brunsey shows up. He's got himself his True Shot Barrage. It's going to clip Morteus, and that's about it. But maybe that's all they needed as Red Knids take control of the Grub Pit and will take it 2-1.
Yeah, they still have a really good control there in that situation, even without the ultimate from the Nara in that spot. So it's not going to be the end of the world. It's 2-4-1 in terms of the grubs they're able to get. FNB almost getting slapped on there by Trimby, but with no ultimate, Morteus doesn't have a ton of damage to be able to follow up in that situation. It's only going to be them responding to the play accordingly. They are stopping the back from FNB, and I'm not sure if they want to try and force a dive here. There's no one even here to be able to force that.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if they went for it. I just don't think that's intelligent. They've got vision on, kind of in the brushes, so they're evading against a TP. I think this is just about getting turret plating gold, right? If anything. Goes up. Hang on a second here, or just force a flash out of FNB. Fair enough.
Yeah, they looked like they were going to go for it with the ultimate now back up for Mortheus, but it is now the ultimate down once again, and Aegis is in position. They can try and maybe threaten it here, although the Lilia and Kizzy was... Actually, the Lilia now. Kizzy was over on the side. Oh, Kizzy.
Oh boy, he might be in a world of hurt here, able to get the ult off onto
Doesn't
Frosty.
have flash.
But that early game Leona tankiness can be just too much. Gets a little bit of shielding back. Hang on a second. I mean, the E's going to put him right back into a dangerous spot, but him surviving this long is crazy. Brunsey's flash gets blown. He might get a little bit of damage down onto Frosty, but out goes the Weasel. Ultimate pop there. Not the ultimate, I should say, but the damage pop there by Aegis. And able to get a kill back is Morteus, so still 1-1. Oh my goodness, going right back in is Frosty. I don't know if he told Aegis.
Trimby,
able to get 1-for-1 here. DeSamus doesn't have his ultimate. Aegis down on ultimate as well. And I think they're both just going to kind of stare at each other and allow this one to dissipate.
It's a 2-for-2 at the end of the day. Brancy and Frosty for Trimby and Kizzy. They could have fought that a little bit better if FNB was closer to be able to fight, but he was backing actually because he didn't have enough health bar to even be able to force it, and Meganar wasn't available at that point if I'm not wrong. As we see here, Kizzy was getting spotted in a really bad spot. I like the way that they were trying to attempt it, although they lacked just a tiny bit more damage to be able to close it out. Kizzy also bought so much time in the process, and the heal is actually clutch there by Trimby able to keep him alive. But also here, importantly, you see that there's 4 members in this position. You see that the Nar is just coming back from lane, and the Annie is down on the bot side. So there wasn't very much chances to go there. Ooh, okay, he's dead.
Oh, man. Yeah, he should be toast here. Frosty with the ultimate over the wall. Surely we don't get a Cassante moment. He's able to escape with all that movement and the flash as well, despite being down all his resistances, able to escape. Grefthar, just with the help of Frosty, I think just going to try to delay the recall a little bit as Tibbers gets gunned down. Yeah, Grefthar don't think he'll be able to stop it. Just collecting some turret plating gold if he can.
Hey, the most you can do here is stopping it, as Kizzy once again is finding himself in
Man.
this position. He doesn't die though. It's a much better improvement than the last time, but for the second time in a row, he gets put into such a awful spot there, and he may be playing Yone, but you still need to find the angles to make it work out, and that is not going to be it. I'm also sad that we couldn't make use of the meme of the Kisante because like he
Yeah.
hasn't been so out. He has been so out of meta that then the this is Kisante meme kind of died already.
Yeah. Yeah, no, unfortunately. Yeah, we haven't had a true Cassante moment in a while. Yeah, when he was at the peak of his powers last year, I mean,
It was
just,
great.
Oh my god, it was entertaining to cast, I will say, because like just the hype moments. I mean, to play against, I sounds like hell on wheels. It sounds absolutely awful, but to cast, it was a lot of fun just to get those hype moments.
Yeah.
The bull here,
That
yeah, he is.
That's a great
little
thing
bit-
about being the caster. You know that you can just have fun watching
Exactly.
everyone suffer against some of the champions.
Exactly.
Because
I'm
if it
not
was a
playing, I don't
player of Brands,
Ooh, not gonna pop a little thing.
Just
Oh my!
wait.
Mortea starting to hit a little harder there as he's onto his first full item. One of a couple members to do so. Aegis' Nefiri and Samus's Lilia grabbed himself the Leandries. So still a dead even game here. 100 gold lead here by Cade Stars. That's nothing effectively. Red up ever so slightly on the objective front, but Cade doing a much better job of just stifling what Red Kid is trying to do here. I mean, TDS, when you were kind of coming into this, right? I mean, the mid jungle is so potent for both of these sides, and it's gone about the same,
Yeah.
right? A lot of attention being paid to the jungle. Did you expect them to kind of cancel each other out like this, or did you think that one side would have more of an advantage than another?
so I was thinking that that the semis and Aegis were going to be fighting between each other to really just get the hang of the game or the control of the game as best as possible. What I wasn't expecting is to see Frosty be as impactful as it was so far, because I feel like he has had more impact into the matchup than the mid jungle duo from both sides. Like Grefter has been doing a really good job at having at trying to move and doing some things as well, but Kizzy has been a little bit lackluster in my opinion compared to what I
Yeah.
was expecting from the mid jungle duo. But in comparison, I think that Frosty has been doing a great job at not only matching Trimby's idea of trying to move around, but even being better than him in some occasions. I think Game 2, for example, was a great showing of Frosty. The first 5 to 10 minutes were amazing by
He was
him,
all over the
moving
place.
around the rel. Yeah, and this game, he's trying to do something very similar. Maybe not kills, are not appearing a lot of kills, but he's doing a really good job at trying to stay close to that idea. And I feel like that has been the big change up for Red in this series so far.
Yeah, both of these supports, they love to get out and impact the map, and we've seen a show from both of them. No, I think you hit the nail right on the head. Let's see what else they can do here, as now you're going to start moving as more of a stack, right? Start tailing your jungler, playing around that vision to get even more vision. As Brunson and Morteus find each other in the mid lane. Yeah, that double up, it hits pretty hard.
It's great.
Yeah.
When you're
And so-
connected, it's amazing. When you miss it, or when you hit a minion and it doesn't bounce back, you feel really bad about yourself.
You just feel useless. Yeah. Kissy going over the wall here. Try to get on FNB with the help of Trimby. Not going to be the case. Grefthar able to grab himself the Malignants. As we are still pretty much dead even. Red Kids have extended their lead ever so slightly here up to about 800. We still haven't seen that full 5-on-5 team fight yet, TDS. And I mean,
Yeah, and this game has been much more quiet when you think about how the
Yeah.
previous two games have gone. Like, yes, there's still kills and yes, there's still movements, but in the previous two games, Red was already like 4-0 or 5-0 at this point. This time around, though, both sides feel like they are taking a much more calmer approach, and they are just waiting for when they're all at a 1.5 item mark to be able to try and force some sort of fight. They get the Herald here that probably could turn into the mid lane turret if they want to try and rush it as soon as possible, but it's not going to be first turret blood, I don't think so. Actually, it may be just enough because of the Grubs.
Yep, it looks like it will be. As Frosty and company able to get that mid lane tier 1. So, again, Cade not getting blasted. They got themselves a tower. But Red Kids up ever so slightly in that department. I think we saw the turret plating stat go up, and I wasn't really... It didn't really register in my head, so apologies to the viewers for that. I should have been paying closer attention. But, yeah, both these teams, I think they know... You can tell in the gameplay that they know how explosive these team fights can be and how this could be a 5-0 either way with one small misstep. But, I mean, going down 2-1 is just... I mean, it's a death sentence. I mean, in both of the... I mean, well, actually, it's not. No, for both these teams, they could come back and win, rattle off 3 in a row or whatever, but... It would just be such a momentum killer for either side, right? If they were to win this game. So much riding on it here. as we are in the lower bracket, this is elimination time for both these teams. Red Canids, many roster swaps over the course of the first and second split. Just barely missed out on top 4 in split 1. Cade, same sort of thing. They had a bit of a disaster split 1, but split 2 was so much better for them. For my money, comfortably the third best team in the LTA South right up until that 4A series. It brought a lot of doubt into my mind, but well, we'll see how they.
I feel like to their fans as well, kind of
Yeah.
brought themselves into a really weird spot because of it. Oh, Kisi.
Oh man, able
Good
to
ulti,
buffer
though.
the Fate Seal just in time.
Yeah, really good ulti timing there. It's 1 minute away from the dragon, but it may be just enough for Frosty to have it back. But they are all collapsing here, and they are not going to be able to take down the turret quickly enough. Oh, wait. Actually,
Yeah,
that
actually
is
getting the
so
turn off
good.
there. It does go down. There goes the bullet time, but Aegis able to get on him. Does enough damage, but Morteus now gets pounced on by
Oh, it's
Aegis.
not enough.
Really good counter pick here, but Bull shows up here. Could be the cleanup crew that Cade need. Retreat to safety
Oh,
to the
it's
tower. Brunsey and Aegis pick them off from outside the range. Aegis pays for it with
Mega's
his life.
available.
That is a shutdown, but now FNB, he's got Meganar coming up. He's got his ultimate. Could just flash stun Bull into the tower if he wanted to. Brunsey trying to get the job done without that. He goes all out right onto the AD carry. It was a sidestep it, but it's not enough. Ace comes in for FNB as he just stops playing with his food and says, all right, fine, I'll ult the sucker.
And finally, the 5-for-5 team fight we were waiting to see, and so well played by Red. Once again, cannot call enough flowers for Frosty here. Such a well played team fight. They were looking initially for Kisi with the Leona angle. They didn't find her at the right time, but then the re-engage onto the side was so well done. They were threatening so much to destroy it. And also Brunsey, he was coming in on the side, but he actually found a perfect spot here. Dashes over the wall, which is not recommendable occasionally, but because they found so quickly the Lilia and blow her up immediately, you lose team fight value immediately there as well. Aegis, it's a little bit of the ultimate, but he's left in touch essentially, and he's able to fight on the side without having to worry as much. And even if the Annie dies, you see the value from the Tibers. Still attacking on the side, still tanking a little bit of the turret, and then the continuation is so much well played for the side of Red, because they were just waiting their time. They take down the turret, they force Bowl into a weird spot, and if he tries to run away, he just gets Mega'd into the wall. So everything was working out much better in that situation for them. Really good team fight, and it also turns into a dragon after that.
High fives all around. It was a close fight, but they're feeling good about what they got. Red Canids back in control in this one. But as we saw last game, it can all turn on its head very quickly. Now, to be fair, this composition for Cade Stars not quite as potent in terms of taking down Barons, taking down towers, and late game structures, and just that raw output of damage, but still plenty tricky if you do get 5-0'd in the late game. Red Canids still have to dot their I's and cross their T's, and no lead is safe. Red Canids could, and I would argue should, be up 2,000 gold or 2-0 in this series. But right now they find themselves in a much more delicate position. But all that will be forgiven if they can lock in and win this game and close out this series. But Cade lost 4 in a row coming into last game. Got 3-0'd by Furia in the upper bracket. And now CL, the coach for Cade Stars, and the long-term project that he's trying to build here in Brazil, trying to get off the ground here after our finals appearance with a completely different roster aside from Desamis. They got humbled 3-1 by Pain in the finals. But, man, Cade, they're such an interesting prospect to watch because them and Furia kind of cut from the same cloth here as they start up the Baron here, trying to make things happen off good macro, good team play to capitalize on the individual brilliance of some of these members. Red Canids, nothing so poetic to say about them. They're a bit of a mess, but they're our mess, and we love them.
Yeah, they're trying to move around all the map as possible, trying to find some angles. I really like that Red has been doing this pretty much all series long, moving into the jungle really effectively as team, and trying particularly to get control over 2 fronts. Kizzy has to teleport out of this position, respecting the power there, but this does mean that, first of all, the Herald is going to be pretty useless, but also they have first moving to the Atacant, so they can try and force it, although vision control is really good in this position, so it's not going to fall into it. Trimby, though, he needs to be careful, and it's not going to happen.
No, they were looking for
Could have
that
been
pick,
scary.
but yeah, Trimby got the ward down. Hang on a
Frosty.
second here. Kissy going over the wall. Frosty, maybe Kissy gets the big fate sealed. Oh, it was right there, but probably good that he didn't pull the trigger there. No one was there to follow up, and now
Whoa,
showing
the
up
angle,
huge.
Morteus.
FNB gets a massive ultimate there onto Morteus.
Huge.
Just sets it up for Aegis. That is absolutely massive. FNB playing such a good series this time around. Trimby able to get to the safety of the Raptor pit. Now Kissy and company just retreating. Desamis on not a lot of health. Has to use the ultimate defensively to get the heck out of dodge. Aegis pops able to get
The
close enough to
wolves.
Kissy. Should be enough here. If you can pop the Lilting Lullaby, that should be enough to save somebody, but it will not be. DeSamis, 2 kills onto Red, and they're taking this. I mean, they run this same sort of thing. Get a pick, move ahead. Get a pick, right? They've done this the whole series, TDS.
Yeah, they've been doing such an amazing job at that, and even though the Sammys wanted to bring this leap for the team, he actually ends up seeing a nightmare there as Aegis just kills him really effectively. But it's so well done how they turn one pick into a pick in their favor. They have FNB on the side waiting right at the right time and finds the perfect target there. Mortheus has no flash at all because of the previous fight, so they understand the timing that they can play with. And even though it takes them a little while before they can find a second pick, they turn that into even more value there. Really nice run around the able to force. They force multiple ultimates, multiple attempts at escaping, but it's simply not enough at the time. Only thing is that I don't think they can try and get the objective just because they took them really long to be able to kill the Sammys. So I'm not sure if they are going to be able to get to the Atakan before they respawn. So it's not going to be just a straight up objective victory for them. But they did blow a couple of important things. The Sammys has no flash or ultimate anymore, and they can maybe try and threaten this Atakan because of it.
Yeah, let's see. I mean, they're ahead a good amount, right? But a couple of huge ultimates, right? I mean, to be fair, the Lilting Lullaby is not available, and I think that's really kind of what you need here, right? And actually, I correct me if I'm wrong here, and in the chat, feel free to kind of respond to this. But I feel like I remember hearing that obviously damage wakes you up from the Lilting Lullaby, from the Lilia ult, but for some reason MF ult does not.
Yeah, it doesn't.
That's crazy.
If I'm not wrong, it doesn't. That combo is one of the ones that you like to pick because exactly that. I think that if I'm not wrong, it's because it's more so than the damage. I think it's the effect that it causes on you, and because like bullet time is like a different sort of effect compared to just straight up damage, it's not waking you up. I may be just inventing every bit of that explanation, but I think that's the reason why.
I mean, any explanation makes sense because on the surface it makes no sense. But
yeah, it shouldn't happen like that.
No, it's like the whole point of it. That's why it's not broken. But like, oh well. They do start up the Octagon here. Do Red Canids. Let's see if Cade Stars have a response here. Kiting it out again. Just not enough deep vision control to be able to securely take this Octagon. Trying to get something else done here as FNB doing his thing here in the mid lane. Yes, not quite enough here. I mean, Red Canids does feel like they're kind of playing with fire, but at the same time, they've been able to get picks from these spots before.
Yeah, it does make it difficult though because of how quickly some of the members can respond for both sides thanks to the portals of the Hextech Dragon. It creates difficult situations to try and force some objectives. Even if you think that you have the upper hand in terms of numbers, out of nowhere because of a gate, you're able to get there beforehand as Kisi getting attacked once again here, but he's just going to rush away and try and keep himself safe. But it's funny how they've been trying to focus Kisi, but it's not working out as effectively consistently. Oh. Greftar.
Oh, Greftar, nice flash! Just barely escapes. That feels rough if you're Kissy. Feels like you kind of did everything right there. But not going to be enough as Trimby trying to get someone there with the battle dance.
He may be wanting to engage here, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, he gets blown up, able to get back and get a bit of shielding, but Kissy doesn't have his ultimate. That's a big engage tool that they don't have.
Bull Flash.
Lilting Lullaby available, Bull Flash down, but now it's Red Canids on the front foot. It's effectively a 4v5. He's taken completely out of the fight. Is Trimby. Nice unstoppable buffer there by Bull.
Oh, wait, the re-engage.
The damage over the top. Very nicely done. Kissy was just the distraction. Morte's able to get the ult over the top, and it's a 1-for-1 support for 80 carry. This is a trade in the hands of VKS, and now Morteus goes forward and gets himself a huge kill. Late game VKS are here. Is it enough to push them over the top? Fight still continuing here as Aegis gets away there with the untargetable, but Kissy locked up immediately with the Soul Unbounds. Get back. He's able to... No way he gets away with this. Gets the shielding from his W. Unbelievable. Bull looking for a Cassante moment. FNB over the top. Bull takes him down. Morteus with the killing blow. Cade starts playing these fights beautifully, TDS.
Yeah, they are running away here, and they are not going to be able to kill Aegis or Frosty, but that is such a big victory for BKS. They find multiple important kills, and crucially as well, the kill happened on Greptor when he doesn't have teleport, so he cannot come back quickly here. Kisi is just finding angle after angle. He just woke up after all the mishaps in the early game. He's actually being a player now, and it's turning around some of the situations so effectively. Brancy back up here, but it's going to be difficult to stop this Baron buff.
I mean, do you just concede it, right? I mean, it almost feels like you cut your losses here. Maybe Aegis can go over the wall. He has the smite. Grevthar potentially not going to be enough. And it, of course, is Trimby. Of course. that gets the kill, but another shutdown for Morteus. Dude, Morteus is going to come back with an absolute bag in his inventory. He's going to have so much. Gets the IE to wrap it all up, and the Last Whisper, and on top of that, the boots.
Oh, Bull is dead, though.
Yeah, Bull is toast here, so this will be more kill into the more gold in the hands of Brunsey, but Morteus, all of a sudden, he's a bit of a raid boss now, TDS. He's got 3.5 items.
Yeah, 6-2 Misfortune with 3 items completed. That's going to be a scary champion to deal with. They are trying to force the Atakan here, but Frosty once again maybe caught out of position, has to flash away. They don't have a smite against one smite from the Samis, and actually no, Trimby doesn't have a smite anymore, but they don't have ways to fight this out. They are just giving it up for no reason at all.
Red Canid's trying to take this fight
The
back.
reset,
Atakan healing way back up. It will reset.
The Aegis
Like
is
you
here
said.
now, so they can try and kill it.
Ah,
They can
Aegis.
now try and go for it. And Bull doesn't have teleport.
No, that's true. It's going to take him a while to get back. Let's see if they have enough here. Frosty's got to step up just a little bit here, trying to figure out which part to peel for. Able to get the stun down on Morteus, but it is just
The
a
Samis?
slow, I should say. It's a beautiful stopwatch to negate the E there, but now the bullet time over the
the
top
Aegis dead.
sets up a kill and the Atakan take.
Oh, this
if
is
you
doomed.
keep Morteus safe, he's just going to rip the rest of the team apart. Brunsey goes down. It's a double kill for Morteus. VKS Stars take a bow. It's an ace. They have officially woken back up.
Yeah, the early game may have not been the most ideal for VKS, but guess what? You just woke up from a dream and it's VKS coming back into it on the back of Morteus playing such a good AD carry game here as a Misfortune, and particularly playing off of the peel really well because the focus goes towards the other members and he's left untouched. He actually can deal damage from a safe distance, doing so many things in the team fight correctly. Doesn't even need to blow the cleanse, blows a flash to get the kill, but the cleanse is still intact so he can try and fight later on. But the other member that you have to highlight is Kisi. He's also playing it off much better.
Oh my goodness,
Early
yeah.
stages were questionable, but he's finding better angles now.
I mean, you got to feel good for Kissy. I mean, last series was an absolute horror show for him. He got memed to the ends of the earth, and rightfully so. He was awful in that Furia series, but he has been so much better this time around. Him and Morteus, man. I mean, this is woof. I mean, this is really rough. I mean, that last, not the last fight, but the one before, right? Just injecting what felt like 2,000 or 3,000 gold into the pocket of Morteus. He comes back, and now he's got 4.5 items. It just gets harder and harder to deal with him. And if you're Aegis, actually, I don't think you can 100 to 0 him anymore, right? I mean, like you said, he has.
It has to be an Annie combo, an Annie Aegis combo, but like finding that backline is going to be really
It's so
difficult because they are playing a really good job at just trying to make it so that they cannot reach the backline as effectively. And Giz is just playing Peel really well as well. He's such a big menace now because of his ultimate positioning and how he's trying to thread with knockups that they focus too much onto the Yoni and they leave way too little for the Misfortune.
They're protecting Cade, or they're protecting Morteus really well. Like you said, Kissy, he's been a menace in the back line. It's just like between him and Desamis, right? And Bull getting in there, right? Trimby can kind of dash or bounce back and forth. It's just too much to deal with. It's so difficult for Red, because like you said, they can 100 to 0 someone, but the consistent damage isn't quite there. Let's get another look at this Atakan fight. Starts off okay for Red, but after this engage, Cade pulled the trigger.
Yeah, it looked like with the Sammy's pick, they could have destroyed everyone, but you can see Mortheus, such a safe position for him to play with. And importantly as well, Brancy started that fight with way too little health. He barely had more than half his health bar before that fight started, and then everything else just kind of fell into place for Bibo in the right spot. Mortheus left untouched, you have the Sammys still able to provide damage thanks to the Sonyas, and then everything else able to be managed out because of how little chance there was for Red to reach that backline. Only good thing about losing that Atakan, or how that Atakan fight happened, is that it took away so much of the time from the Baron buff that they weren't able to broke the base.
Yep, able to get that down. Almost taking down that top lane tier 3. But, man oh man. It's 7,000 gold lead here. It is just so much. And, I mean, all the momentum is on Cade's side. I don't see how Red get back into this one, right? The win condition in the team fights is a little more narrow, right? It's a lot of single target damage, right? But the AoE is just not there. Kissy can get damage onto everyone. Orteas can get damage onto everyone. Desavis can get the damage onto everyone. It's so rough. I mean, but if you're Cade and you're a Cade fan, what a roller coaster these last 2 weeks have been. Getting slaughtered by Furia, and then just coming out and just laying an egg, just puking all
No,
over yourself
Reptar.
for essentially 2 games. Oh my goodness. Yep. Can't do that. That's a 5v4 now, and they should be able to push this out more. Morteus is playing an absolute blinder right now. 10-2-4 on the Misfortune. Unbelievable.
Yeah, such a comfortable way of playing the game out for Morteus here. And funnily enough, the first time in the series, VKS has had a lead, a gold lead. Because even in the last game, they didn't have one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, now, oh, they've got a gold lead. Imagine what they could do with that. Aegis in a little bit of trouble here up on the top side as Kizzy gets a ton of damage down onto him, and I think it's going to be enough. Aegis will survive, just barely. But the in-him goes down at the hands of Morteus.
Yeah, it's just enough to be able to keep himself alive, but it's still enough to be able to force out Aegis in that spot. And FNB cannot find any angle. We went from having FNB finding so many good angles as an hour to now not even able to find some sort of off angle because they are controlling some of the places really, really well. Baron buff has a spawn back up, and that can be another objective for them to try and fight out. Samus is down here in the bot side, but he can respond really quickly to that Baron buff, so it's going to be off of a pick. Whoever can find the right pick here may be able to force the Baron buff.
They're going to need an absolute miracle here. Aegis is going to have to pull off the steal of his life. There's just so much damage coming in that they could take this Baron in the blink of an eye. Frosty, oh my god, yeah, he has to flash away. He wanted to do everything possible to avoid it, but it's not going to be, not going to be enough here. Cage should be able to rip through this Baron. They're going to be pretty much uncontested. Bull can be a one-man defense crew. Cage still not pulling the trigger, so they're actually more looking to fight, and honestly, I mean, fair enough.
Yeah, maybe they want to try and get the upper hand before they even try to force a Baron buff, because it is still technically a 50-50 if you're not careful enough, and Aegis has invulnerability, so he can try and get in and then not die immediately like it has happened a couple of times, but it's dying quite quickly, less than half health on the Baron buff, and they want to try and rush it down. They do have double smite though. I'm not sure Trimby has the exhaust here.
Yeah, so maybe not the double smite.
Oh,
but
ulti
goes in immediately. He doesn't have a ton of follow-up, and then bullet time gets some, but not a ton. Trimby getting back in, and now the health bar advantage.
Trimby's dead.
Hang on a second here. We might have a problem here if you're Cage Stars. Aegis
Smite
does
is dead,
go down.
though.
Smite down. They are going to be able to recover just barely. Yeah, they take care of Aegis. That's going to give them a ton more confidence to be able to go back in. The health bars are super low for Red. FNB was just, he was taking up that Baron. It just wasn't enough. Now Red looking for a miracle. They've got to go for something here, but FNB trying to buy as much time as he can. He's taking so much damage from Dasamas, able to flash away here. Bull, can he have a Cassante moment? Hold on a second here. Kissy goes in. He goes right the heck back out. Oh, snipe from downtown. Brunsey gets in, but 2 more kills for Morteus, because if you don't catch Morteus, you do not catch Cage Stars. So it effectively gets negated. Cage do still walk away with the Baron, and they've got Morteus and Dasamas. They will be able to do some damage on the map.
Yeah, but it looks like they are not going to be able to close out the game just yet. Even though they have 3 waves of pushing minions, they are not going to be able to close out the game just yet. They will get the dragon, so it's soul point for them, and Baron buff as well. But like you're mentioning, they may kill the smaller, like the smaller, weaker pieces on the side of VKS, but Morteus, the raid boss, is actually still alive. 6 items completed, a ton of damage on most fights, and as long as he's left in touch, it's going to be really difficult to win this game for a Red.
Yeah. No, it all comes down to that. You have to be able to get onto him. Otherwise, you absolutely can't do anything, because even if he's just kiting you at this point, he's so much stronger than you. Even though MF is relatively immobile, he could just backstep, right-click, backstep, double up, backstep. I mean, just auto-space you to death. This actually went okay here at the back end for Red, but again,
it was a nice attempt.
Yeah.
Like, I like the idea, but the damage was lacking in a lot of those situations, but also there was no way to lock down the Misfortune at that point, because Leona was also running away. Stun was late for Graftar, so he couldn't have stunned the Misfortune in that spot either, and they also committed way too much killing the other 2 members. So at that point, there was barely anything that they could have done to try and kill Mortheus. Only positive out of that for Red in regards to Mortheus is that he blew his flash away, so he only has cleanse. If they get on top of the Misfortune and they kill the cleanse before he actually gets stunned once again, there is a shot at killing the Misfortune.
Yep, they have a chance, and sometimes that's all you need, but the damage is just too much to be able to defend here. Tiber is going to get gunned down. Turret goes down, Inhib goes down. That is now 2 out of 3 taken down. Big Lilting Lullaby coming in hot here. And the damage over the top, not ideal, but it is enough to back Red off just a little bit. Frosty down the Solar Flare right now. It doesn't have Ignite either, just a little bit of CC that he's providing. Otherwise, this is essentially a 5v4 with 2 Baroned up lanes here. One with super minions coming in hot as Cade look to take this 2-1. Tower taken very, very low. Trimby gets in, got some CC down, but not really on anyone. Gets right back out. Grifthar looking for a big Tibbers again. He's got a ton of CDR here, ability haste, I should say. Kissy in a little bit of trouble here. Does get stunned up here, but able to get into the back line. Very nicely done. Cleansed out of it with the Mercurial Scimitar. Kissy playing his mind right now. Morteus gets another one, but again, you don't touch Morteus, you don't have a shot. He's just right-clicking you and just farming you. My goodness, what a game by Cade Stars. Morteus, take a bow, young man. What a game by him.
Stepping up so far after first game, looking so good with both that Smolder game and now this Misfortune game, appearing when needed and dealing all damage for the team. Really, really good job by Morteus in that position, and is one of the main shining lights for the side of VKS. It's what they need to play for, especially coming into the next game if they change sides, because there is side selection now for the side of Red, if I'm not wrong. So there is going to be a need to focus on what Morpheus can do, because if he is fine, then their game is probably going to be fine if you're Kid Stars.
Yeah, and you've got yourself a good identity now, right? And that has been their identity, to be fair, for a while, right? Dasama's really not usually on carries, but like you said, with the Misfortune, right, the Lilia specifically, because the ults interact in the way they do, right, that's a fine pick. But I think, yeah, you're gonna see, I think you're gonna see him back on, these sorts of tank and spank junglers, or these ganking junglers. That is where Dasamas has made the most of his money, and just give Morteus another, just backline champion, right? The Aphelios is being played, a little bit here and there, right? And as we get deeper and deeper into Fearless, we are in Game 4 right now. We haven't seen a full 5-game Fearless set, but I hope we do, because I do want to see just, especially with a couple of these players, right, where they're going to reach into their bags.
Yeah, we're one game closer to it. If Red can pull it back, we're just one game away from that BO flat going all the way. So hopefully it can happen. And I still think Red has been doing great things. Like, technically speaking, this game was theirs until it wasn't. Yep. So it's something that they've been doing a really good job, and they just need to clean themselves up a little bit more. Try and do a similar thing to that first game, where they were being smart, they were being calm, and they were finding the right picks at the right time. They weren't forcing so blindly in certain situations that kind of went away to what they needed to do. So hopefully they can replicate that coming into the next game.
Yeah, there's a window for Red, right? They've won kind of in aggregate. Like, they slapped Game 1, they dominated Game 2 until literally the last 1 minute of the game, and then in the first half of Game 3 they look good, right? There's obviously a window for this team, but this is such a vibes-based team that getting, throwing Game 2 and then kind of getting worked in the second half of Game 3 like this. If you're asking me to make a prediction, I think Cade wins Game 4. I just don't see Red bouncing back from this. Just mentally, that's not how they operate.
Yeah.
But if they do win Game 4, then I think they win Game 5. That's my prediction for the rest of this series. But we'll see how it all plays out. Don't go anywhere. Game 4 coming back. These two teams fighting for their lives in the lower bracket. We'll be right back. Welcome back, gang. One more game left. If Cade can put this series away, but if Red have anything to say about it, we will be here for another 2 games. And I'm personally, I hope that we get to see a full Fearless best of 5. So I've actually never casted a 5th game in a full Fearless best of 5. I've watched a couple, but I don't think I've ever gotten to cast one. So I'm excited for that personally.
I think I've gotten to cast once or twice a full Fearless VO5 thanks to ACL, Aegis Champions League. Great shout there. They do have Fearless now, and I think we have done some there, but I'm not 100% sure. I will say it gets chaotic when you reach that 5th game, especially with all the bans, because there was the situation where you could technically just take out the bans for that 5th game, and that way you at the very least open up some of the champs that are banned away. But in that over there we didn't do it. We just played it off with full bans and full previous game bans. So it can get really chaotic, but it can be really funny as well.
Yeah, no, and both modes are cool, right? Because if you take away the bans, then it's like, oh, you essentially get a Thanos draft, right? Because if there's no bans, you get just like all the power picks for Game 5, and it's just a fist fight. It's great. But maybe they were playing Amumu, we're playing Thresh, we're playing all this nonsense. I would love to see. Thresh. I love when Thresh is in pro play. I think he's an incredibly fun champion. But that is a decision for neither here nor there. TDS. Again, I feel like your assessment of Red Canids when we came into this series was they're missing just something. And this is so much, again, if you're a Red Canids fan, this has got to be so frustrating to watch because you've put yourself in winning positions 3 games in a row. You've lost 2 of them. It's really tragic. It's that red mid game, man, every time.
It really is, and a pretty great representation of what Reds has been so far is that Kid had only 1 gold lead in all series.
The whole series.
It was in the previous game. It was in the previous game after they won a team fight. Because before that, even in the second game where they won, they were down in gold. Still, even before winning, they were down. So it just goes to show that Red has been doing good things, but good things are not enough to win you games. You need to actually close it out, and we'll just have to wait and see how it's going to pan out because we do have the next big and ban phase. It's once again red and blue side for both teams. They are staying the same way so far all series long, but we're going to be needing to go deeper and deeper into pools now with so many champions just banned away because of Fearless.
Yeah, and I'm kind of surprised that we just keep getting these teams playing on the same sides. I mean, Red Canids, look, you've got really good side laners, kind of powerful, they can take over a game. You've got one of those. Greatest of respect to Grevthar. He's a good player. He deserves to be in tier 1 in my opinion, but FNB is the guy you give kind of that R5 to. And taking away the Nocturne means that the Rumble is left open, so Bowl is going to be yoinked on that. Wukong was a pick that was banned away. I would like to, I don't know about an R1 RE here. I think, grab the Wukong and then save something else, right? Grab yourself a support or like a counterless AD carry. I'm glad they got the Wukong. Wukong's really strong. Great. Maybe it's just a Grevthar of like, look, we just put him on something stable that he can execute on. Grab that early because then we don't have enough confidence in him to go further down the chain. Which is an indictment on Grevthar, but that's kind of my line of reasoning there.
I also think it has to do with the other side, right? Kisi, when you look at the champions banned away, right? It's Azir out, Talia out, Ari taken away. You have no Yone now because it was banned away as well. And Jace is also banned away. So what do Kisi pull off? Because I don't think like Kisi has a really big champ pool. I think that Tristana here may be the choice just because like it's something that I can see him play. But when you try and reach farther and farther, there's a lot of champions that were already taken away, and it kind of makes your pool be pretty impacted in that sense. So I understand why the Ari did come in that position as the rest of the champions come through, and this Alistar had been banned pretty frequently, so now they finally get it in favor of Red. Frosty, with how he's playing, I'm not mad at him getting the Alistar, but it can be a counterpick here just because they still have counterpick for VKS spot lane.
Let's see how they end up using that, right? Like you said, the Alistar has been shown. Tristana probably going to go into that mid lane. You could give it to Morteus, I will say, because, I mean, that seems like the kind of champion that Morteus would just thrive on, right? You've got a little bit of mobility should you need it, but this is a champion where you could just sit back and right-click things and watch them disappear from your screen. Aatrox being banned away, that's an FNB signature pick for sure that could really snowball this team. Still looking for that big late game carry though. Let's see what they put Bruncy on. Wouldn't be surprised if it is something like a Zeri, just because that is, look, you've got your backs against the wall here. Zeri is a fine pick in this meta. She can print damage, do a little bit of mixed as well, and it's just something that Bruncy is insanely comfortable on. Even back when, I mean, he was on those, I guess it was, the red teams when Howes was on Red Canids. I could be making stuff up, but there was Chat, remind me, what was the play? It was last year, I think, where House got that insane Azir shuffle off over the wall, and it just gave Brunsey the easiest, like, triple quadra of his life. Thresh being banned away. Now I really hope we get Game 5. Now I really hope we get Game 5, because that means Thresh is on the menu in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, potentially. Actually, it may be one of those choices. I will say though, with banning away the Thresh and the Kai'Sa as well here, like they have to look for something relative here. All the engaged supports essentially out. If they do go for Seri here, in case there it's for red, it's still lacking that engage or sorry enchanter support that you usually want to have with the Seri, just because trying and buffing her up is always ideal. But having the Alistar for CC is still quite ideal for them. It could be the Ashe as well. Yeah, the Ashe with the engage potential, and it gives good chance for the counter pick to be a little bit more damage oriented, and that way you can play around it really, really well. Camille is still open, and I can see Red trying to go for the Camille as a counter pick here could be ideal for them. And for BKS, like you're mentioning, Tristana could go bot lane. This could still be an answer for the Ashe. Caitlyn is still available. You could kind of go for Caitlyn Lux if you wanted to, but the Jhin is also still up. Jhin and a tank champion in the bot lane could still go through bot. What else is there as a tank in the bot lane? Actually, maybe it could be Pyke, now that I think about it.
That is not what I thought was going to come out of your mouth, but I'd be happy to see a Pyke. I'd be really
Pyke or
surprised.
Blitz? Pyke or Blitz, just because there are two hook champions. If you ban Thresh, like they are in the menu, or it could be the Maokai. Yeah, I was actually thinking there is always a chance for the Maokai to be flexed around. Ooh, or Gragas too.
Or Gragas, that would go into the jungle, I suppose.
I think it would be more likely support, actually.
Support Gragas, you think?
Yeah, I think it could be support Gragas here. Yeah, the engage potential is always there, and you have the disengage as well against the Wukong as the Nidalee last pick for FMB. I really, really was thinking about the Camille, but I've seen this matchup. Rumble, I think I seen this matchup, Rumble Nidalee, and Nidalee destroys the Rumble. Like, yeah, she actually destroys him much heavier than I thought it would be. So it makes sense for me.
For Red Canid's sake, I really hope you're right. Like, I trust you, but I hope that that's how it goes. Because, again, Nidalee is this champion that, look, we should not base how we draft and how we pay and how we pick based on what Twitter thinks.
Yeah, no, like I've seen the matchup and it was destroying. But the problem is that the matchup is good. Like, don't get me wrong, I think the matchup is great. The problem is that matchup doesn't decide the lane. And one of the big issues that I see here for Red is that a lot of their parts depend on that one engage working out.
Mm-hmm.
And if the engage doesn't work out, and from that I'm thinking either the Ashe Arrow or the Alistar combo, the longer fights are just much better for Vivo. They have double AD carry.
Yep.
They have an equalizer that can be greatly used here, and they have good disengage tools. So even if you try and force a lot, Gragas just pushes you away. Maokai just uses ulti and escapes. Like, they have ways to engage and disengage. Something that I think they were lacking in previous compositions, that this time around, it just feels much better. So as long as the Rumble stays fine in lane and doesn't die, equalizer is always going to be good. And you have ways to kill the back lane really effectively as well.
Yeah, that Red Canids fan does not like the draft. He is not a fan of how this is going to go. Yeah, I mean, it's risky for Red, but I mean, if they can get that early game lead, right? Because we haven't seen Red get behind in the early game. Like, not really. So that's somewhere where they don't want to find themselves. I do think that Cade, I mean, they're a much more solid macro team. Their mid games are much better. But we just this could be really, really ugly here for Red. But look, you need to take a big swing. You're down 2-1. Your season is on the line. If you don't win this game, see you back in August. It's a long time to go without playing competitive League of Legends, man.
Yeah, you don't want to wait that long before you actually can play once again. That being said, though, we are in June, so maybe the months go by quickly, and you can get back into playing sooner rather than later. But you don't want to be out so early on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we didn't get the okay. So will be that Maokai or that Gragas support, and look, I mean, essentially what it's just. You're just an ult bot, right? I mean, how good is it actually in lane? Is it just about the knockback, or because I mean, it's like Alistar kind of does that, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it has to be with the disengage potential coming in from the engage from the Alistar. So similar to if you're playing the Thresh Flay in that sense. So you just pop the E to try and stop the engage, and then you run away. that's kind of the situation that you play off there. And you also technically have good poke thanks to the fact that you have your barrel.
Yeah.
So you are kind of a good poker and kind of a good disengager. That is a good amount of damage there by Kisi, already winning the lane really well.
Yeah, be able to get out to a good start. I'm a big fan of this Tristana here for Kissy. I would have liked to see more on Morteus, just because it gives him a hyper carry, but look, with the way that Kissy has been playing this series so far, he's earned the right to be able to do this. Take it into a side lane as well. And Grevthar, I mean, if this is a matchup that, especially if you think you can bully Grevthar on this matchup, then more power to you, because I think it did not inspire me with confidence that they grabbed the Ahri so early, again, for Grevthar. I think that is just, that's a bit damning. I didn't like that as a show of confidence in Grevthar. And look, it's like, so for those that don't know, Grevthar back in the day, Red Canids in 2021 Split 2, they snuck into playoffs in 6th place. They had a mid laner at the time named Avenger. Grevthar was Mago. He was in Academy, and he got called up for playoffs, and they made a miracle run from 6th place to win the whole dang thing. He pulled out hold on again. I'll take a pause on the Lord up here. FNB just might be toast here. Flash bonk,
perfect.
Very nicely done. Yeah, I mean, that's one way to negate the matchup, is you just get some jungle help.
And gotta be honest here, the semis played this first 2 minutes in the best way possible.
Hell yeah.
Went in with vision, stole red buff, went into Crocs, then come in level 3 knowing that he was going to be that Bo was going to be pushed 100%. And they are now going to try and stop Aegis from being able to steal this red buff. The Maokai is coming in here. They have position for both mid lane and bot lane to try and engage here. It should be able to deny Aegis from stealing this red buff. Okay, this is the best early game I think so far VKS has had. If they are able to stop this, yeah, he gets red buff. That's it. Aegis is really in a really bad spot, and now the top lane can be managed. You don't need to do anything else in the top lane anymore. Trimby?
Yeah, Trimby is just eating damage, but he has so much sustain with his passive there. Grevthar going to eat a charge. Yeah, Desavis, he's in the right place at the right time. No, and I'm glad you called out that. I mean, like, you want to give Desavis his flowers. I mean, he's had quietly a really good series. We haven't talked about him a ton because it has been the Morteus and Kissy show. But the whole team has been playing really, really well these last couple of games. And Desamis, right place, right time, man. I mean, especially in this early game. You called that out. He played that really, 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 really well. And focus on the top lane, which is what you wanted to see. Because, right, this could get out of control. Nidalee's so snowbally. Right, and so is Rumble, to be 100%. Fair as well, right? If you get rolling, this champion can absolutely crush your dreams in the mid game. But I still think this is going to be, this is going to live and die by if FNB can have a game on this. If FNB loses this game and we see the damage charts afterwards and he has like 15k damage or like 13k damage, the pitchforks are going to come out for him, man. I mean, because FNB, God bless him, that is something that has followed him around, is that in these big games, he doesn't come up big. He's a bit of a regular season monster. Sometimes he's had good games in the playoffs, and sometimes he's had good games in clutch spots, but the eggs that he lays in critical games in his past, they stick out like a sore thumb, man.
Yeah, it's one of those, like, you want to be the coin flippy player that ends up being heads all playoffs long and maybe once or twice tails in regular season. Like, it's fine if you don't perform in regular season, but people want to see you in the bigger stage.
Yeah, that's what people remember, man. That is what will
exactly.
get held against you your whole life if you don't execute in playoffs.
There's players that make a career out of being clutch in playoffs. So like that's what really matters at the end of the day. And for FNB, not stepping up could be really unlucky in this situation. He still, at the very least, has been able to put pressure onto the Rumble here. Still is a range against a melee matchup technically, and can try and get the lead thanks to his healing as well as the CES advantage that he can accrue. But it's not big enough to really make a difference, especially as a counter pick at this point. And dying so early on just makes it so that now the rest of the map has to be able to respond accordingly well enough.
No, exactly. You've got to get something back, because I mean that early kill, right? It's like, oh, you're up 10 CS, great. Yeah, it's kind of negated, right? And you're able to get those early boots, right? The trade, it just feels so rough. I mean, yeah, it wasn't magic resist boots, but Brunsey with the insta cleanse here off the Deadly Flourish, able to flash away. You got 2 summoner spells there, actually 3, because Frost ended up using the heal.
3 because of the heal.
A trip well spent. Yep.
I think you take that out every time, every opportunity you can, if you're able to go for it. As once again, Kizzy is forcing this so heavily, and I really like how he's playing aggressively in this situation,
Mm.
knowing that he can get the jump reset once again and then just go away. As long as he plays off of the charm, it's completely fine. As
Yep.
Aegis is here, oh, the engage.
They've got a chance here.
I don't
Deadly
think they
Flourish
win
going to
this,
find a
though.
couple here. But a big knockback by DeSamas gives them a
Ooh.
chance here. It's a 1-for-1 so far. But now both Greftar and Kissy joining the party.
No
If
flash for
Greftar can get a
Maokai?
big charm off, that might be what equalizes it. Able to wait for the flash from Morteus and play it out very nicely. But Kissy gets a kill there
Kissy goes
onto
in.
Aegis. And now Kissy coming out on top here. Greftar's
Kissy
out of
goes in
mana.
again.
He doesn't have a prayer in hell. 4-2 for K-Star, starting off fantastically. Unbelievable. What a fight from Vivo K-Stars.
Yeah, this is such a different game for Kidstars, not comparable to anything we've seen before this, and really good kills they are able to find, but importantly, it's how it started. It's a fight for ping ward, which is weird. The Samis has no flash steal, but the engage is onto the Gragas. He's deceptively tanky as soon as he goes for the CC chain, because he gets the extra value from his rune, and then the follow-up here, as long as Kizzy arrives here, level 6, he gets so much damage down as, yeah, Bo probably will die here, but the question mark is how long. Actually, he doesn't know. They buy enough time. He's able to just wait for Trimby to come here. They are not even able to get the kill here. That's unfortunate, to say the least.
Oh man, this is I think you and I have watched enough League of Legends in our lives to know how pivotal that was. That could come back and to bite them in a big way. Not able to get something back onto Bull, right? Equalize this lane in some way, shape, or form. Because right now it has been all Bull. I mean, not all Bull, to be fair, right? The lane itself has been fine, but you got to get something going. Like you said, you pick this Nidalee R5. That is a big resource you put on FNB, right? You chose red side twice. And,
yeah, it was your decision for this, and it's not paying out at this point. That first blood really affecting how the matchup ended up going, and they even have perfect control here over the Grubs. They can get the next one, or at the very least one more here. Although it's looking like, because of the numbers advantage and how Bull is getting pushed here, they probably don't want to try and attempt going for more than this. They don't have Equalizer either, and that is a cooldown that you want to play around with at the very least.
Yeah, you got to have something big to be able to really seal this fight, should they want to go for it here. Aegis hasn't popped that Cyclone just yet. I think just waiting for that right moment. Curtain call goes out. Frosty is the sacrificial lamb. He will go down eventually, surely. DeSamas gets forward. There we go. And that'll be enough, and that should be, Cade going to take that the Void Grubs. Now the Dragon, Red don't really have a ton of priority in the mid lane to be able to go for it. Kissy going to get some vision down here. Maybe Red can respond, but I don't know. Cade looked really in control here.
Yeah, much better turnaround there compared to the previous games, and like you were mentioning, they don't even have control in the bot side to even be able to go for that. The area may be moving first, but Wukong was backing away. The Nidalee teleported top side, and then you also don't have a good enough push in the mid lane to warrant that you can go for that Dragon. So it's just going to be 3 Grubs to the top side, a little bit of control back in the favor of VKS, and maybe now they can try and go for the Dragon now that everyone is kind of moving away from it.
Yeah, they peel off it just a little bit here, but Trimby shows up, and Kissy there as well, but it's a 2v4. Yeah, don't think they're going to go for it here. Morteus trying to get a little bit of priority in that mid lane. Yeah, just stick to the Dragon. Surely they don't throw this. Yeah, this should be fine.
Yeah, it should be fine. Gragas is not even close. Maybe taking a little bit of damage here. They are just trading normally how we were expecting, but they are taking way too long to take down this Dragon, actually. Like, it could have been a much quicker objective obtained, but because of how long it took, they are just enabling positioning back for BKS to be much better. They get now vision control back in their favor. Jin is coming back with a first item. Tristana probably will back up there's this wave and get her first item as well, and that's when you see them being able to force fights much more effectively.
We'll see what fights they do force. We haven't seen. We saw kind of a 5v5, but it was a little bit kind of all over the place here. Not that we're necessarily at that stage just yet, but a charm does land there onto Kissy. They need a kill here badly, TDS. Good knockback by Kissy, able to get a little bit more combat power, but it will not be enough. They interest the ultimate. Shutdown goes on to Aegis.
Good enough shutdown there. I would say probably you would like to have it on Greftar just because he's the one that will be facing Kizzy most of the time. But Wukong getting it is not bad either. You get your first item, and he is one of the champions that can kill AD carries really effectively as well.
Yeah.
So getting that, not necessarily a bad choice. But what is the response here by BKS? They know that everyone is here, and FNB looking to be the victim of the next, yeah, oof, FMB.
Oh, yeah, he's got no man. I mean, look, he was toast anyway. Trimby, or Frosty, rather, getting called off, saying, nope, nope, I'm dead here. It's fine. But Kissy, oh my goodness, what an ultimate. Are you kidding me? How the hell did that hit him?
How is this not a kill yet? I'm not sure. Aegis may actually die.
Grepthar's got no mana.
Oh, it's not enough. One last auto could have been the death there, but teleport is coming in. Aegis has flash, but they don't know.
No, dude, it's a disaster for Red Canids. Everything is going wrong for them. Cade are up.
Not a kill.
9-3.
The Ash Arrow.
Yeah, I mean that was the Ash Arrow of the century. That was so good. That was actually perfect. Brunsey 5-headed that so hard, and all it got them was 2 deaths.
It's actually the perfect bait for your own team. You think you have it until you don't, and just like that, Brancy may have gotten a good amount of damage and also the Ash Arrow to point there. But he's in a game where he's playing against a Tristana and a Jhin, and also he's playing against a Rumble that will have Equalizer on top of your face. That is going to be really scary. Perfect timing on the Ash Arrow, perfect position. Like you were mentioning though, Grefter didn't have enough mana to be able to call down anything else. And importantly also, I would say Aegis didn't commit more to the kill. I think that he had to commit to getting the kill there in that position. After that, the teleport pretty comfortably. They didn't even notice that he was coming down, and just a free kill at the end of the day.
I mean, what even do here? Yeah, CL and the rest of the VKS coaching staff fired up here. They will face Isurus Estral in the next round if they get past Red Canids now. Morteus, like you said, in a little bit of trouble here. Frosty, pop your ultimate, brother. You're gonna die. There he goes, finally, but too little, too late. As the curtain call comes back up, and you've got the 80 carry tanking for the support. Greftar gets in there, gets a nice charm there on the Trimby. Very nicely done. Gets the flash off as well as he goes down.
Oh, he does get a tower. Here by herself.
Yeah, maybe you can get a pick here. Yeah, I was going to say, this is doable here. Greftar's got another charge on his Spirit Rush. Just got to land that charm. It's the game of chicken. Very nicely done. The knockback committed there. Allowed him to stay still and land that charm. Oh, no.
Oh, wait, Kissy.
Gets the flash off, but Kissy is just too dang strong. 3-1-3, and he is making it Red Canids' problem. Almost a 5,000 gold lead. Oh, by the way, Bull is getting free turret plating gold because it's not even 14 minutes yet.
Yeah, I guess having a first item completing on the Tristana where Greftar doesn't even have his first item is much better than anything else, and pretty easy kill. Even though they find a great pick onto Trimby, they cannot turn that into anything more because they cannot force objectives, they cannot kill targets that are by themselves, and they cannot even try and threaten the plates. Red is just in a spot where even if they get one thing, they lose 2 in the process. And that's not how you're able to turn around these games. They need to find more in one place, or at the very least force a pick or a fight when there's an objective in the map.
Yeah. No, like you said, Cade have woken up in a huge way, right? This is the mid game that we expected from them. Shoot, this is the kind of mid game that Red was playing in game 1 and game 2, right? Cade was getting one thing here or there, but Red would respond with something else, right? They'd go even in a fight, oh, and by the way, someone else is taking a tower just because of the wallet diff. And right now, I mean, I said it from the beginning, right? I don't trust Red from behind. They have to get going early because Cade aren't really going to throw games. Like, despite their inconsistencies, they don't really throw games all that much, right? I mean, even in the games that they lost against Furia, they got just curb stomped a couple of times, and the other time, it's not that they threw really super hard. And again, like, it's Furia. They're really good, right? They have the best macro of the league. But yeah, Red just look hopeless right now, and it's such a shame. Like, I mean, you've got a really heavy pick composition here. And that's the only thing you can rely on here. But Cade aren't putting themselves in positions to be picked. How do you read this, right? Because like Red's composition has an identity, and they've got a good amount of damage. But Lord, it just looks so hopeless.
Yeah, it kind of felt like after their initial miss in the level 1 play, level 2 play in the top lane, it kind of just created a cascading effect where each lane that they were trying to look for, they find the right place for it. They weren't collapsed on consistently. They didn't get punished because of attempting to go for any sort of play. Even in the bot lane play that was a 4v4, they ended up winning it with Kise getting 2 kills out of that play and making mid lane just be completely unstable for Greftar. So it's just like Red may have great idea or good enough ideas, but the problem is that they don't have enough to be able to finish executing on those ideas. And it's a mix of being behind and also just not having enough damage to back them up at that point, or maybe not having the right damage at the right place. Because, for example, like in that Kise play in the bot lane where he teleported into the Ash Arrow, If the Ash was there, they probably kill Kizzy.
Yeah.
But because he wasn't there, it's very difficult to be able to push that kill. And also at the time, Greftar didn't even have mana to follow up on more damage there. As, oh, Ash Arrow, close.
Yeah, again, all right, you've got Aegis and Frosty here. This isn't a ton of damage. You're 2 levels down. Frosty is, he's got ultimate, but it's taken Brunsey such a long time to get down here. But look at all the resources.
Are here.
Look at all the resources they're investing here. Bro, very smartly ulting the wave so that maybe you get someone down on the back of this. It is a shutdown onto Grefthar, and if FNB can hold his own here, actually, this isn't the worst play in the world for Red Canids, but the Tristana with Trimby just waiting to body slam you, to cask you into certain death. Oh, by the way, Aegis is getting the Herald down as well, so you traded Tower and a kill for Tower and a Herald. Again, not awful, but then Morteus in the mid lane. Yeah, never mind.
Oh, Kizzy may kill Brancy here. Oh no. Yeah, your positive play just got completely stomped on its face.
Yep, Kissy's gonna 100-0 Brunsey here without too much. Jeez Louise.
And that's 11-13 Tristana with a 1-item lead. And the problem here is that I don't dislike the idea, but Bull played that off perfectly. He may die, but he killed the wave off. That wave could have meant 2 turrets. But because the wave dies, they have to wait an extra wave. They have to allow time for VKS to push the other waves. And like you were mentioning, they get turret in top lane, they get turret in mid lane, they get teleport in bot lane. Everything is just much better for VKS because they can use less to get more compared to what Red has to use to even get something at all at this point of the game. So it's just the difference in what they need to commit in some of this plays. And at the end, it works out much better for Red.
Yeah, and that's that wallet diff, right? Like you said, it just allows you so much more liberty around the map, right? I mean, when you can take 1v2s and still come out on top, right? Or, you can take 1v4s and still clear the wave so that one tower doesn't turn into 2 towers. Oh, and then everybody else is just, all across the map. Cade doing a very good job of actually responding, right? They're a little bit on the back foot on some of these plays, but when you respond and get more, right? It's like, it's like playing a counter-attacking team, right? You're still going to get something off the back of it. Doesn't matter if the other team has 70% possession because you're going to defend well. Whoa, we're back. Aegis able to grab a kill there onto Bull and able to get that mid lane tier 1. Pretty important, I would say, but Kissy is getting
hopefully
some...
they don't die.
FNB gonna grab himself a tower.
What a great
Kissy's
cast.
getting some alone time with the bottom lane tier 1.
Wait, it's a
tier
3v4
tower, I should say.
It's a 3v4.
And now the Herald popped here as well. Aegis actually, hold on. Red, actually not a bad fight for them. FNB teleporting here. And now a shutdown for him. Hold the phone here. It's a 4-for-0. Kissy gets a lot done in the bottom lane, to be fair. But this actually turned out okay for Red.
Yeah, and this is, once again, like, to not harp on points that people may disagree on or not, but I think having this Rip Herald pushing into the base so early on and opening up this space, it's not necessarily bad. Unless they get to push into multiple objectives, which theoretically VKS can, this is such a good thing for Red. They turn around a big fight, they get the turret in the mid lane, they get multiple kills, they find important gold into multiple members that need it, and now they will have some place to try and get resources from because the lane is going to almost always kind of push into that position. Only good thing was if they were able to get the inhibitor as well, but you can see how it started. Getting the kill onto Bull, they were able to kill the turret as well just before the wave died, or at the very least just as the wave died, and that meant that even if they forced there, the turret was not going to be there for support for the side of VKS. The cask is great, but it's a 4v3, and then you even have the teleport coming in from the Nidalee, so it was going to be a 5v3 at the end of the day. Really good for the side of Red to force this sort of play that effectively and not lose much more than just what was going to be lost anyway.
Yeah, no notes. I have nothing to add there. I think you wrapped it up very nicely. Now, all of a sudden, Cade, they got to be a little bit more on their P's and Q's. They're still in the lead. They still got a 2,500 gold lead, 6 towers to 3, right? They've got a long lane to play through, and Kissy in a side lane is going to be really, really tricky to deal with.
It's going to be only if they can kill Kissy, though. Like, Kissy, if Kissy dies, I think that's a big advantage for Red. But if Kissy can survive, VKS wins the fight almost always.
Yeah, and so again, it's like, okay, 1, can you kill Kissy in that side lane? 2, what does the rest of the team get done outside of it, right? Because Kissy, he is the main tower-taking threat as well. Obviously, they have damage on the other side, right? I mean, you still got an 80 carry, you still got Bull to wave clear, right? You can still do those things well, but it's no Tristana. Let's not kid ourselves here. But all of a sudden, you've got yourself in a situation here when if the Baron spawns in 5 more minutes, right, or if they take an Otacon here, the teams are fighting on much more equal footing. Not completely equal footing, right? Kissy is still 2,500 gold ahead of Grevthar. I could, cue the memes, etc., right? It's a Grevthar game, ladies and gentlemen, but Kissy also is just playing out of his mind. I put this more on Kissy and not on Grefthar just being bad or whatever.
I agree. It has been really good for Casey. I think a much better turnaround game compared to the previous ones, and he's been finding the angles to make himself be as useful as possible. Even just pushing side lanes has been much better for them because that way he always has a pressure point that they can take advantage of. As Red is trying to set up with 4 members here, they do have Grefthar and Aegis quite strong here. They have 2 items on both of them. They can try and blow up certain members. So like you were mentioning, if there's a fight happening soon enough for an objective, it's going to be much more contested for the side of Red, just because they do have 2 item power spikes on most members as well. Ooh, quick flash by Samis there.
Oh, big cask. It might be the death sentence for Frosty here, but FNB showing up
back,
huge
though.
here in the back line. That gave him enough distraction, but now what are they going to get from it? The Sequelizer comes out. That takes Red completely out of the fight. They were scattered and capitalized on it so well, did VKS.
Oh,
Kissy able to get the kill there with the ticking damage onto Grefthar. The bomb goes off over his head. It's just 1 kill for now, but FNB somehow gets away. No, I think he's going to get pounced on there by Bull. Aegis in some trouble here. Try to get something back onto Kissy. It will not be enough. It was a good attempt there by Red, but it was flawed in its execution. Bull going to get the kill there onto FNB. And just like that, the little purchase that Red had in this game wiped away. It's going to be a free Otacon for the Cade Stars.
Yeah, they looked at that one chance. They thought it was going to be their chance. And initially, I don't dislike the idea, but the Sammy's quick reaction, baiting that flash engage from, or that engage from Frosty, really, really good. But also, Bull is well alone by himself here. Frosty's coming as well. He has no ulti, so this could be an actually good kill for them. It should be easy for them to obtain it. I think, actually, Trimby's here, though.
Yeah, with Trimby here, he's got that little bit of extra CC. You just got to be able to 100 to 0 him really quick before Trimby shows up and beats him over the head with a cast. No. Yeah, I think this one's over. Put a pin in it. Again, if these sorts of plays can't go well, you've got nothing else to go on here.
Yeah, they should be even Dragon for them, as they may even just collapse into Aegis. He just respawned.
Oh. Having to blow your flash like that and still going to get done bound
Is that
by
enough?
Kissy.
I think it's enough.
3, 2, 1.
Ooh. Not even FNB's heal was enough there. And yeah, they're just running around the map, jumping and killing and jumping and more jumping and killing.
Yeah, a lot of killing, a lot of jumping as well. Man, oh man. No, it's a rough one. Cade looked like they're going to walk away with this one. Going to take this mid-tier 2. They got themselves that Baron, or no, I should say, well, the Baron's not even up yet. How has this game only been going on for 23 minutes? My goodness.
It's just such a controlled game by the side of VKS. Such a huge difference compared to the previous 2 ones. And I think it has a lot to do with, first of all, the Sammy's very good early movements that I think we have lacked in the previous games. And then Kissy, I think he has been having a much, much, much better game compared to the previous ones. Because Mortheus feels so quiet in comparison, but it doesn't really matter because he's doing his job.
Yeah, who cares, right? You're hitting some deadly flourishes, right? You're creating some pressure with the curtain call. Kissy's the star of the show, and Morteus knows that. He's fine to play his role.
Yeah. And as long as they are able to make it work out as best as possible, that's going to be great for the side of VKS, as they are probably waiting for the Baron buff to spawn, the next Dragon as well, and try and close out the game after getting those advantages. And for Red, it is going to be a play off of what pick they can find, because they still do have the options to go for picks. They have an Ahri, they have an Ash Arrow from a safe distance, they have a Wukong that can become invisible, so if they can find something, it's possible. The problem is that possibility is like 5% or maybe 4% actually.
Yeah, I don't give them much of a prayer here. Baron spawning in 10 seconds, just making sure that they get this north quadrant of the jungle cleared out of vision, so they can get a clean take here. Prevent a Miracle Steal from Aegis. It's easier on the Wukong. You can get in there. You can ult. You can get right back out with the dashes. But he's got no flash, so it might be a one-way trip, actually, now that I'm saying that. Shouldn't be playing bodyguard here. Playing really well on this support Gragas. Man, it's just, I mean, Kissy just chews through this, right? Already down to half HP. If they can focus on it, they'll take it down in no time flat. There's a twisted advance. They're going to twist off it. But now the charm lands really not on anyone important. Aegis goes down. There's nothing he can do. Grefthar gets absolutely deleted. There goes the equalizer over the top. It is curtains. Brunsey doing the absolute best he can. Shows out the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. Frosty will be the sacrificial lamb. Desamis going to chase down Brunsey. Forced to use his flash on top of all of that. They might just end here, TDS.
Maybe FNB can win the base race. Okay, no, they actually just decided against it. Probably the smarter choice, but it is going to be turret, probably double inhibitor, And actually, they can even try and they are teleporting in. They may try and attempt to just end it. It's 15 seconds for most of the members.
I think this could be it here. When you've got a Tristana, anything is possible. Flashing
Oh,
forward there,
Brunsey.
down goes Brunsey. FNB,
Oh,
the
Kise.
only one with a hope and a prayer. But the wave has been thinned out. Cade not going to play with fire. They will retreat here. But if Aegis does something
Aegis.
dumb, Deadly Flourish doesn't land. Kissy
Are we make kill Kissy?
going back here, almost
Oh,
able to
no.
interrupt it. But now Greftar's got a pretty good flank angle here. But he dashed forward, going to try to get back and help out his teammates. If he can land a good charm, that might be enough here. Gets him up from the tower to get the kill onto Trimby.
Not even enough
Almost.
to kill.
Not quite enough. Waiting for one more wave. They're pinging them down on it. If they can get this way forward here, Trimby is low, but Kissy is full health. Well, not full health, but he can fire
There
pretty much
goes the
uninhibited.
LT.
Twisted Advance comes up off cooldown at just a perfect
Oh,
time
that's
to
it.
set up the rest of the kills and wrap up the series for VKS. They take it 3-1 after Red Canids fall apart after such a promising start to the series. Red Canids eliminated from the split. Cade get the monkey off their back. After 4 straight losses, they find themselves in the second round of the lower bracket. Frosty crushed after another playoff failure for Red Canids. And VKS will play Isurus Estral in the next round.
Yeah, fully understandable why you may be a little bit destroyed, but after, and I'm pretty sure it's all after that second game of the series.
Yeah.
It really felt like after that it was going downwards. The third game was doable, but it felt like their confidence was impacted after that
100%.
second game, and it's difficult for Red. I think they really could have done it. With how they were playing. It could have been a 3-0 perfectly, but after the second game, the third game as well, the fourth game is just a difference in how confident you are going into those remaining games and how much better he was looking for Bivo after that point. It's unlucky, but it's the sort of thing that can happen when you're a confidence-based team as well.
Yeah, no, exactly. And again, that it giveth and it taketh away. And I think that's the crushing part, I think, if you're Red. And I think that's why Frosty is so distraught, is that you had a chance to go up 2-0 in this series and force Cade into a very uncomfortable spot and pull off. It would have been the upset of the year. And you blew it, and then you fell apart just spectacularly. And look, Cade, I knew they were a better team. I think we all knew they were a better team. They had shown more. They showed more consistently. Red making roster swaps and making bad decisions on and off the Rift. They got their just desserts. Cade, they were just the way better team. My goodness. Yeah, it's a tough one, but Cade, they've got something to build on here. I would favor them against Isurus Estral as well. I think we could get Pain, Furia, Cade as our top 3, even after all this shenanigans.
Yeah, exactly. Like, even then, I still think Heat has everything in their power to be one of the better teams. It's just cleaning themselves up much more, because we've seen Mortheos being able to hyper carry. Kizzy has his up and downs. Trimby can be really smart, and same for the Samis. And Bull can be a Bull factor. I will call it like that. And it's just that they need to appear at the same time for it to be worth it, because most of the time they don't appear. And that's when the real problem is actually coming through. But they have the makings of a great team. It's just making them a team that can pull it off. Something that I feel Furia has been able to achieve already, or at the very least it's in a much better path to achieving it. And then Pain is also in a much better path to achieving comparatively.
Yeah, no, I mean, they are doing all the right things, pushing all the right buttons. They've got themselves a date with Pain next weekend, and yeah, more bangers coming up next weekend. Same time, same place. So GG's to Red. I hate to say it, but no one had really much faith that they were going to be able to sustain it for that long, right? They were never going to win the title, but they had the tools to pull off an upset here and give them some momentum, something to build off of going into split number 3, but we'll see. We'll see. I don't know what the heck they're going to do in the offseason, but if it's Red Canids, I mean, knowing anything about them, they will probably make some sort of change, whether it's a good idea or not, but I feel like Red just can't do right for doing wrong right now. It's a tough one. TDS, any final thoughts before we send the people on their way?
Nah, the series was great. I think second game, pure cinema, really perfect representation of LTA South, and I'm excited to see how next weeks are going to go. There's a great possibility that we have a preview of the finals in that Pain against Furia matchup, so it should be really exciting to see.
Yeah, tune in for that one, honestly, if nothing else. That one is going to be a Z-tier banger.
Yeah.
For now, we are going to say goodbye. Again, same time, same place next week for more playoff action. I am 4x4. That is TDS. Shout out to our producer, Chippy, for making things happen in the background. As always, thank you guys for watching. join the community Discord, subscribe to us on on YouTube to support that. We've got a podcast on YouTube and Spotify to break down everything in between weeks. And yeah, follow us on Twitter, and we're also on Blue Sky, by the way. So if that's your cup of tea, you can go there as well. For everyone I've mentioned, I've been 4x4. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you next week.